All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guys Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz. Episode 200 is now in full swing, full motion. We are so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time, as we have so much to get to in the world of sports. And as you guys might understand or see, as you're, maybe some of you guys are live streaming this and you're seeing what's going on right now, and you might be confused as hell, because as you know, for the last year and change, we've been doing our show on Saturdays in the afternoon, late morning, early afternoon time, and it has fit our schedules very conveniently for the longest time. And because of the fact that the NFL season gets kind of janky at the end of the season, where teams start to play on Saturdays every once in a while, and the playoff seedings and things of that nature start to take shape, and they have to move games around, we have to adjust with that. And because of the fact that the Chiefs play tomorrow, Saturday, at around 3:15, we felt it was best to get a show the day before, because we want you guys to be able to consume this show before that game kicks off. And I think it's so fitting, just before we get into the show, because we got a lot to get to, guys, but we're going to try to condense it as much as possible, because we also know that it's late at night as well. We have to obviously get ready for what's going to be a very important game, and there's a lot of important games this weekend, so we need to definitely rest up. And Trevor literally just got off of his shift at his place of occupation. But I thought it was awesome that we get this opportunity to do it in this format tonight for episode 200. And first and foremost, guys, hats off to you. Hats off to Trevor, Eddie, Clay, for being a part of this for literally 200 episodes, man. That is nothing short of something that I am absolutely proud of.
200
and I
weeks.
love it, man. 200 weeks of our lives have been dedicated to doing this. So maybe you're new to this show, or maybe you've been around since the beginning. Regardless, this is something we take a lot of pride in, and we love to do each and every time. It is something we love to do, and I cannot overemphasize that enough. But I thought it was so fitting, because for the majority of this show's history, and I can say that now because we have 200 episodes to talk about, we have an historic show now. We did podcasting strictly, where it was Friday nights, just like this, sometimes at our other brother's apartment, our brother Brandon's apartment, because he had a lot of space. We had other shows in other places. We did remotes, things of that nature, and it was always podcasting for the majority of the time. So I thought it was really poetic that this worked out exactly like this, that our first show, our 50th show, even our 100th show, if I'm not mistaken, were all just podcasts. And I thought that was really cool that we get a little bit of a retro vibe to this, whether it was nighttime and we're all exhausted and we're just trying to use our last quarter of gas to push through this show. Nevertheless, man, thank you guys so much for being here, man. This is fun, and we got, like I said, we got a lot to get to, guys. We're gonna talk a lot about the Week 18. We got some picks that we want to get to. We're gonna obviously talk about the Chiefs and Raiders, because this is a game that has a lot, like I said, a lot going into it. The Chiefs have a lot riding on this game, and they need to take care of this one. Raiders only are really fighting for pride at this point. They could try to play spoiler. We're going to talk a lot about that. Obviously, we're going to end the show with some L's, as we have done in 199 previous episodes. But first and foremost, man, I want to start where it matters the absolute most. So Trevor and I had a very, I would say, challenging Monday. We had ourselves a funeral to take care of in our personal lives, and that night we were spending time with family, and we were having food, and we obviously knew there was a magnificently big game coming up. It was the Bengals hosting the Bills, and it's the biggest game of the season. We're sitting here and we're really anxiously prepared to, quite frankly, just get our minds off the things that we had been dealing with for the majority of the last 2 weeks. And as the game kicks off, man, you could just feel the energy in the place. The Cincinnati Bengals and their fans are ready to go. Scoring an early touchdown. Beautiful pass to Tyler Boyd from Joe Burrow. Josh Allen gets the Bills into the red zone. They fail to score a touchdown, and then the Bills are driving again. And it just looks like it's going to be a high-energy, electric game. It's going to live up to the hype. And as we all know, I don't want to say hyperbolically, but I think the single most tragic event in the history of the NFL, maybe even American sports, took place in a flash of a moment. T. Higgins catches a slant pattern across the middle of the field, runs right into two defenders, one of those defenders being Damar Hamlin, the safety for the Bills, and they just kind of collide like a normal play. Nothing serious, no dirty hit, no nothing going on, just very routine. Everybody gets up, looks like they're just going to move on to the next play. Good play for the Bengals. And then tragedy strikes, man. Damar Hamlin just absolutely, he gets a little woozy, he falls straight back, and it looks like someone sniped him from the top, from the nosebleed section. And because of all the things we've seen with Tua Tagovailoa and other players that have suffered concussions, my first thought was, oh, he has a concussion. This is serious. Got to get him to the blue tent, maybe get him back and see what's going on, because that looked pretty damn serious. And my heart automatically went to him. But when they went to commercial break, I was not under the belief or under the impression whatsoever that when we got back, I'd hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman passing it back to Susie Kohlberg and Booger McFarland and Adam Schefter back into the studios, because they're literally giving this guy CPR on the field. They're trying to resuscitate this man. Had no idea that was going to be the case. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to speak for anybody else and what you guys were experiencing at that time, but Trevor, our whole family were together, and the first thing that we started talking about was, how are they going to play football after this? This man's literally fighting for his life on the damn field. His teammates are bawling their eyes out. Josh Allen looked like he just had the most tragic event of his entire life. Dude's weeping.
His mom in the stands.
Yeah, Trey White's weeping. Yeah. All these guys are just weeping. Joe Burrow's out there trying to comfort Josh Allen. It's bad enough when the whole team comes out there, but when both teams are on the field, you know it's bad, man. It's bad. And Josh McDermott and Zach Taylor handled it beautifully, as the head coach is saying. We got to get these guys off the field. And according to reports, Zach Taylor said that Sean McDermott, he pulled him over, said, I need to be with Damar.
Yeah.
I can't coach my team, man. There's just no way I can do this. So they pulled everybody out, which was genius because it gave them the opportunity to get the ambulance out of the way so there wouldn't be no traffic jams, because they told the crowd, hey, we got to close the game down. Everyone's going to start flooding and just trying to get out. So it was a very smart move on their behalf to give them like 25, 30 minutes to get a head start. But it was just the most tragic event I think I've ever seen. And I know, Eddie, you've mentioned soccer things. I know Denmark's Eriksson literally died on the field. They resuscitated him.
Dale
Somehow,
Earnhardt.
some way that game continued.
Earnhardt Sr.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen tragedies like this, similar to this before in other sports, but it really hit home in the NFL. Now, I don't want to just talk about the tragedy too much, because as we know, there's been some incredible news come out today about Damar Hamlin making a full recovery, which is something I was not anticipating, but I was really hoping, everybody was hoping for, which is everything we wanted, clearly. But I want to give credit, man, to where credit is due. From, like I said, the coaching staff on both sides taking action, from the production teams to the ESPN, and like I said, they handled it so well. Booger McFarland was out there preaching the gospel when it came to talking about things like this. His somber tones, it wasn't fake, it wasn't like sold, and it didn't feel, like he was just trying to manufacture something. It felt like a former player talking about the dark shit that goes on in this sport and the risks they take. Adam Schefter being very careful with his words. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman handled it very well. But more importantly, it was the medical professionals that saved Damar Hamlin's life in this instance. And in particular, Denny Kellington, he is one of the medical professionals for the Buffalo Bills. Instantly, within less than a minute's time, noticed that he needed to perform CPR on Damar Hamlin on the field and got his heart back going, got him oxygen within seconds. That is nothing short of a hero. Denny Kellington is a hero. The doctors at the University of Cincinnati Hospital are heroes. They saved this kid's life. 24 years old. And of course, when things like this happen, something even close to this type of tragedy happens, we start to learn more about the man. I'll be honest, I didn't know anything about Damar Hamlin. I didn't know he was from Pittsburgh. I didn't know he was a 6th-round pick. I didn't know he'd been fighting for his career. I didn't know he grew up rough as hell. I didn't know that Mike Tomlin knew him since he was 12 years old. I didn't know a lot of this stuff, but man, I was eating this up because it really brings the humane side of this to...
humanizes the game.
Yeah, it really shows you just how these are people, and we have to value these people. So that was the forefront of all of this. And I know we give out W's and L's and things like that at the end of the show, but man, I want to do something unprecedented. I think it's perfect for episode 200. I'm giving a W to all the people that were involved that saved Damar's life, and that includes Damar Hamlin, because he fought. And to see Sean McDermott, the coach of the Bills, and Josh Allen weeping yesterday on the press conference, talking about how he's making a recovery and being able to see him. And today, he's flexing on the camera in front of his team. He's giving out the heart symbols. He's telling the guys, "I love you guys." The first words that reverberate, or the first words he writes down yesterday when he's finally conscious, is, "Did we win the game?" Yeah. Like, it almost felt like a movie, like, script. When I read that, I was like, man, there ain't no way that really just happened. And the doctor said, yeah, you won the game of life. Like, if that doesn't make you get emotional and just and make you realize just how big this all is, how much this game matters to humans. I mean, we're fans. We love this game. But this is their life. The first thing that comes out of Hamlin's mouth is, did we win the game? Like, that's powerful, dude. It gave me chills. It gives me chills just thinking about it now. So first and foremost, off the top of the show, I'm handing out dubs, man, to the people that kept this from being an even more catastrophic tragedy, because it was already tough as it was. It was such a profound situation, and for these people to save his life and step up, man, this is why medical professionals need to be praised and need to be given the credit they deserve. Because just a couple years ago, man, we're criticizing these people and we're saying that these people are doing wild shit. These are the same people that are saving people's lives every single day, and Damar Hamlin is one of those people. So we need to give them credit for what they do, man, because, like I said, it could be a much darker situation we're dealing with had those people not done what they had done and as quickly as they did it. Yep. But with all this, I have to transition. I have to segue from all the uplifting, beautiful storylines that came from all this. Because obviously, that game did not get played. And according to the NFL, it's not going to get played at all. It's going to be canceled. And I told Eddie, I told Trevor, that day after this all happened, I'm like, guys, look, obviously Hamlin's health is the most important part of all this, but there is still football to be played, and I think this needs to be a no contest. And so, in my mind, coming into this week, I'm thinking the NFL is just going to do the right thing. They're just going to tell these teams, hey, look, either you reschedule this game this week. I know it sucks, but you're going to have to reschedule this game. If you don't want to play it, if you both agree to it, if the Bills just simply don't want to play it because they're not in the right state of mind, that's fine. But you're going to play 16 games, and then Week 18 is going to determine the outcome of the seedings going the way they do. I'm under the assumption the NFL is going to do the right thing. And then I realized how naive I am, because that isn't what the NFL has decided to do. Instead, the NFL decided to make a spaghetti out of the scenarios that the NFL playoffs are going to have after Week 18. Now, I'm sure most of you have already seen the scenarios and how they're going to play this out on the AFC side of things, so I don't want to go through all of it and break it all down by detail, but I'm going to give you the overview, and then I'm going to go off on the NFL for a minute. Because the NFL has absolutely contradicted themselves by the law of what they've created as a league. So, according to several sources, Field Yates, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, go down the list of all the guys that are connected, and the NFL and themselves. This is how the NFL AFC Championship will be played out based on Week 18's results. So they're saying it's based on Week 18, but we all know because that game is canceled, that is the real reason why they're even doing this to begin with. If Buffalo and Kansas City win this weekend, Buffalo and KC's AFC Championship, if they were to face, would be at a neutral site. If Buffalo and KC lose, and Cincinnati loses or ties, a Buffalo-Kansas City AFC title game would be also at a neutral site. And if Buffalo and KC lose and Cincinnati wins, a Buffalo or Cincinnati-Kansas City AFC Championship would be a neutral site. In other words, the NFL has decided to take away the incentive of being the 1 seed in the AFC this year. In other words, the NFL is deciding, hey, Chiefs, we understand that you had nothing to do with what took place in Cincinnati on Monday night, but now you're going to have a tougher road to getting back to the Super Bowl, just because. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying, well, and this sucks, because a lot of people I really respect and I very much look up to and I've aspired to be like over the last 10, 12 years are saying the same things that are Trevor, Eddie, I feel like I'm going fucking crazy when I hear this. I heard Nick Wright. I heard several people even in the local area, like Nate Taylor. If you really think about it, this is the best opportunity or the best scenario the NFL could have gone with. Since when did changing the rules mid-season come out as the best scenario possible? I understand this is an unprecedented situation. We've never experienced something like this, and we've addressed that at the top. But the NFL literally had rules for this scenario in place.
That's what makes it bad.
Agreed upon.
Yeah.
CBAs, NFLPA, NFL, all agreed on them. And I'll read you the rule. NFL rulebook, competitive policy for canceled games. Quote, if a game is canceled, a team's standing in its division or in its conference shall be determined on the basis of its final record. When necessary, playoff tiebreakers shall be calculated according to per-game averages for all teams. In other words, winning percentage would be the ultimate factor in how teams are seeded if a game is canceled. You notice that it doesn't say if it's canceled for this reason, it'll be determined by this. If it's canceled for this reason, it's determined for that. No, it is just simply that, black and white. If it is canceled, you go by win percentage. You don't change the rules in the middle of the season. I know. I've had a ton of people coming at me today saying, Lance, this is because you're mad you're a Chiefs fan. No, because honestly, if you really look at it, it isn't the Chiefs that are getting boned the hardest. Yeah. It's the Bengals and Ravens.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got screwed.
Yeah.
I'm mad for them because in the Chiefs aspect of the reason I am pissed for the Chiefs, because if they beat the Raiders this week, they will get the 1 seed in the first round bye, which is nice.
Right.
But guess what, guys? More than likely, the Chiefs aren't playing an AFC Championship game at home. And there's 18 possible outcomes for the AFC Championship, right? 18 possible.
Yeah.
11 of them do have the Chiefs hosting the AFC Championship at home.
Right.
That's still 7 scenarios of them not, which takes away the validity and the incentive of being the number 1 seed. Because what did we know when we had the 2 first-round byes? They changed it from 2 to 1. That it's that much more imperative you're going to get that. Now, best case scenario, more realistic scenario, the Chiefs are going to have 1 home game. And I heard Nate Taylor saying, I don't have any sympathy for Chiefs fans because you're not playing a road game. Dude, a neutral game is not a home game.
That's not the point, though.
That's not the point. The point is the NFL is changing the rules on the fly to help the Bills.
Yeah.
That is it.
This is an
It's
emotional decision.
It's an emotional decision. Thank you. It's them saying, hey, we're sorry a tragedy happened, and
Yeah.
we all are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it justifies you changing the rules that are set in place. You want to change the rules? Next CBA figure that out.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm sick of? And I'm just going to say it. I'm sick of rules being changed for the Buffalo Bills. What did we see in 2018?
Yeah.
Chiefs losing the overtime when they didn't get a chance to score or touch the ball.
Yeah.
We asked for them to change the rule. They didn't fucking do it. 3 years later, the Chiefs benefit off that same rule, and the Bills are the ones that took the L.
Yep.
Then they want to change the fucking rule. Now we're sitting here changing the fucking rules again for the same team. And the Bengals had no opportunity. You want to get technical? How about the Bills? How about the Bengals get a fucking W for that game? Right. You want to get technical about it? You want to start changing shit up? They had the lead, and both teams had a possession. They're the ones that scored a touchdown. They're the ones that were driving. I'm pissed off, man. And it's not even about being the Chiefs, because more than likely the Chiefs are going to benefit off of this. It's about the integrity of the game. I get that this tragedy sucks, but tragedies happen, and you have to adjust to them. That doesn't mean you bend or change the rules as a league. They had a golden opportunity here, and they squandered it. You could have said, Bills, you're playing 16 games. Bengals, you're playing 16 games. Chiefs win this week 18. They're getting the 1 seed first round bye. AFC Championship goes through Arrowhead. Dry throat. Sorry. Pissed off. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I want to get your thoughts on this. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit it and let us know what you think in the chat. I want to hear your thoughts. You guys obviously know how I feel about this.
It's pretty clear.
Roger Goodell's been hiding behind it. Roger Goodell's finally coming to light on NFL Network tonight with MJ Acosta Ruiz. She's lobbing up these softball questions that I guarantee you they rehearsed. He's over here literally reading off of like a teleprompter to the right. He's not even looking at the camera. He's like, and this is how the Ravens are going to, if the Ravens win, he's like literally reading. I'm laughing as I'm watching this shit. It's a sham. It's a scam. It's a fucking joke. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, even though I've talked to you about some of the things that I thought were awfully convenient, like Willie Gay getting conveniently suspended to miss the Bills game and then has to come back the next week. Found that really convenient. Nevertheless, having this situation being like this, guys, I don't think this is the case if the Chiefs or another team or somebody else in the mix would have had a player have that same situation. I don't think they change it. I think they change it because the Bills are who the Bills are this season. They're trying to catapult this team forward. You can't tell me that this isn't something that there's something stinky about this. I don't want to get too far down into the thick of it, the weeds of it, but at this point, man, I don't know what to think about how the NFL is doing things. I don't know if I can trust them right now as a league because they're doing things like this on the fly, which is just totally, and again, it's got other people buying in. I don't know if the networks are telling these guys just to play ball like Nick right now. I don't want to say that their integrity is not intact, but it just felt really weird that everyone's saying this is the best possible scenario when it clearly wasn't. They could have just kept it as is and played according to the fucking rules. And they didn't do that. And now teams like the Ravens are getting boned. Teams like the Bengals are getting boned where they're like, hey, you won your division. Congratulations. But there's a chance you have to play on the road. And you may not even play a home game in the playoffs. How does that make sense? How do you give a team the 1 seed, or they earn the 1 seed, but they only may play one home game in the realistic scenario, and the Bengals may not play a home game, even though they won their division? You guys help me out.
Yeah, I mean, I have a problem. I with things like this. This is a business. This is a company, and there's always exceptions to rules. Typically, there's always an exception to damn near any rule you can find. But in ironclad things like this, where is it just a freak thing that happened? I never really understood why emotions should alter the integrity, as you would say, for the postseason. That's where I had my biggest grief, because I don't understand why anyone else should suffer because of this tragic thing that possibly was, there was a life that was arguably on the line. It was a freak thing, and I just don't understand why the entire structure of the postseason should be altered because of that. And the irony, or the not irony, but the fact that it is the Bills, the team that is benefiting this, whether or not we think that scenario is, with the meeting on a field where neither team are a home team in the AFC Championship if the Bills make it. Granted, there are more opportunities for them for that scenario not to take place than there are for it to take place. And we don't even know if the Bills could very well lose to the Patriots this weekend as well, a team that's trying to win and be in. A lot of motivation there. So, I mean, with the Bills, who knows how they're going to show up, how they're going to play. I'm sure they'll be motivated, knowing that their homeboy is alive, and we are all happy about that. It's a strange scenario because I'm in a way rooting for the Bills as a fan of the sport, rooting for them to succeed after that happened to them, but at the same time with the league making us dislike them for the favoritism that they've received in this emotional, and I'll say again, emotional decision to change a rule that is ironclad and is in the rule book, just to alter that just because of an emotional situation. It feels very just elementary, not even dirty, just it feels like lack of integrity, lack of knowledge, lack of just care for the rest of the league. That's what it feels like. It just, and I just feels like this is all the mind meld running the show, all the the suits running this show, running this incredible business that is the Shield. Very respected company and very respected entity in the sports realm. This is the best you can come up with. That's just like, maybe they're not as smart as we give them credit for. Like you said, you give them maybe a little too much credit. It really just honestly just shits on the plate of everyone else that outside of the Bills fans. And I've heard some Bills fans coming out and say that they this actually is not very helpful in there and for them, and that makes zero sense. There in no way are the Bills being slighted here. You've been gifted an olive branch, to have some kind of advantage still. When I mean, listen, and we're talking as if the 1 seed is solidified yet. It is not.
No, it's not.
The Chiefs still very much need to go win. The Bills still very much need to go win. The Bengals still very much go and win. It's been a long time since a Week 18 or a Week 17 game. The last game of a season has mattered this much to this many teams in the AFC. You know what I mean? It's crazy how many things could shift. If the Bengals lose to the Ravens, a lot of things shift. If the Patriots beat the Bills, a lot of things shift. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things in flux. If the Chiefs win or lose, so many things seeding-wise could go in so many different ways. It is strange that, tragic it was, the situation that happened in that game on Monday night should not, cause this much of a grievance or an issue, especially for the Bengals. Like you said, I mean, the Bengals are the ones getting screwed the most here because they were on pace to win that game. Regardless, it was the first quarter or the first half of that game. it is what it is. But we all knew like who had that rhythm in that game. It's I know I'm very confident that the Chiefs will still host the AFC Championship game. I am confident in that. I know that is determined by extracurricular or extra things on the outside that have to happen in our favor. But the fact that we have to bank on that, this shouldn't even be an argument in the first place, right? If we win the 1 seed, this shouldn't even be a discussion. It should be held whether the Chiefs have found success at home or on the road more. Obviously, we're a good road team. Throughout Patrick Mahomes' career, he's been arguably better on the road than he has been at home. And the Bengals beat us at home last year. That's nonetheless, if we win this outright, fair and square. And I say fair and square because if it's a no contest, that has nothing to do with the Chiefs.
And you know why?
The Chiefs are doing their job. We played one extra game than the Bills have, regardless of the situation.
And one thing that I have to add to this is the reason why this is a no contest to begin with is because obviously the tragedy that happened on the field.
They chose to go.
Nobody blames them for not playing that night.
Right.
Nobody. In fact, they made the right decision.
Of course.
But the fact is the Bills had a chance to play that game again.
Right.
And they turned it down.
Right.
So, again, what that tells me is the NFL is telling us because of the Bills' decision to not resume that game at a later date, we're going to punish everybody else. Because, again, bringing the Bengals back, I'm not even making this about the Chiefs. Because Trevor's point is 100% valid, is that now the Chiefs have to bank on things that is unprecedented for the 1 seeds to bank on.
Right.
Once you get the 1 seed, it should be a wrap.
A newly created scenario that has nothing to do with us.
We got to have them lose, and then they got to have a coin toss, and they got to do... No, it should be 1 seed, you get this. Yeah. It's that simple, but for some reason they want to change it this year. And to the point about the Bengals, they honored and respected everything that has happened so far. Sean McDermott, I can't coach this game. No problem. Zach, let's get off the field. We're not playing tonight.
Decisions were made.
They respected it. They honored it. They played along. And what happens? The NFL bones them by not even allowing them to get an opportunity to win the 2 seed, let alone the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even get a chance now.
Yeah.
So what was the point of doing this? Yeah. You tell the Bills, either you play the game later on or you don't play, and now you suffer the consequences of falling to the 3 seed if the Bengals and Chiefs win their games.
Yeah.
So that's
decisions were made, and now emotional feels from the league are for some reason, pandering to the Bills for some reason. It is. I'm not a one of those guys that thinks like the league is working in favor of one team or the other, because we've heard some things for the Chiefs going in favor as far as us getting all the calls and things like that. Like from the outside looking in objectively. And look, we all have our rose-colored glasses, our red and gold-colored glasses for the Chiefs a lot of times on our takes and things like that, the way we feel emotionally attached to the team, whatever. But I tend to be objective, and objectively, this is wrong. It is wrong objectively for the league to do that for a team because they are literally pandering to the Bills to make it soften the blow if they lose the 1 seed. That's literally what happened here.
Yep.
Because I know it's a neutral field and they won't be at home even if they go to the AFC, but it takes the advantage of the team that worked their ass off to earn that 1 seed to get there, whether it's Kansas City or Bengals or whatever. You know what I mean? So, listen, because the Bengals had a chance to win that game, and if the Chiefs lose the next week, they have a chance to take that 1 seed still. You know what I mean? So they got boned hard in my mind. I feel bad for them more than I do because I still think the Chiefs are going to be hosting the AFC Championship because that's how I feel right now with the trajectory of where the Bills are going, where the Bengals are going. Either way, I think we win this week. I think we take care of business, but this is just a unprecedented thing and an unfair advantage that was given to a team that didn't earn it. Tragedy struck their team, and now they're getting a benefit from it, and that's just to break rules and to create a new one for an emotional thing that happened in the game. Look, we all know we have the human response to those things. We were with the Bills' decision, like you said, to not play that game. But at the same time, the integrity must remain intact. They made a grown man decision. They made a grown human being decision to not play that game. And now we're having an emotional gift given to them because of that decision. I think the decision was made, and we should live with the result of that. The Chiefs, if we go out here and win this 1 seed, we should not be penalized for that. That's where I'm at.
The fact that the Bengals and the Ravens, I think, are the most impacted by this decision is crazy. I think both of those teams got completely screwed because the Bengals, like you said, they could have gotten the 1 seed.
There was a path.
They beat the Bengals and they beat the Ravens, had the Chiefs lost to either the Broncos or to
Raiders.
The Raiders tomorrow.
Yep.
The Bengals could have literally taken the 1 seed. It's crazy to me. And now you hand the Bengals the that they didn't win. Obviously, they could have won it last week
Yeah.
if they won. But had they lost that game to the Bills, the Ravens had a chance to beat them on
Win the
Sunday
division.
and win the division.
Yeah.
It is fucking insane
Yeah.
how fucked up that is for both of those teams. Like, I bet the Bengals are like, we're division champions, but it doesn't feel like it because if we win or if we lose, we have to fucking do a coin toss.
Yeah,
and see where we're gonna play. Even though we won the division, we could play an away game in the play. Like, that is so insane to me.
Yeah.
I get the 1 seed thing. It's the whole thing. I'm not too concerned or too worried about that. It is what it is. It's gonna be a neutral site, but at the same time, Chiefs are still gonna technically be home in that game if they were to secure the 1 seed this weekend. But it's still kind of fucked up taking a game away from a team that earned the right to host a championship game at their house.
Yeah.
Eh,
I feel like I'd be more okay if it was like if they took the NFC race and the AFC race and made it whatever the NFC championship game and the AFC championship game both were on neutral sites.
neutral sites. Then
But it said it's only for the Bills.
Yeah.
That's because
because if the Chiefs were to lose early in the playoffs, the Bills would host the AFC Championship.
Right.
Same for the Chiefs.
But I'm saying.
But they don't have
the
to go to
reason
Arrowhead.
This is happening
That's
is because
such
the
an
Chiefs have
advantage.
one more win than the Bills.
But same for the Chiefs. The Bills lose in the playoffs. The Chiefs get to host a
Yeah,
championship.
yeah.
But the
So,
Chiefs outright earned that though. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah,
The Bengals were a part of that shitty situation. That sucks. But if the Chiefs win, we win the outright anyways. Because even if they won and they won the Bengal or the Ravens game, it doesn't matter because we took care of our business. We won that outright. So it's just in favor of the Bills only. That's what's odd here.
I don't know what else we expected the NFL to do. I know we expected them to do a better outcome, better scenario, but
The rules that were in place.
it is the NFL. When these scenarios came out, I was like, this has got to be fake. I can't. And then I sent it to you because Adam Schefter tweeted it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, okay, so it might be a real thing. And then Adam Schefter pretty much said, like, yeah, this is the proposal for the NFL. And then the owners voted on that today, and they approved it. So it's crazy to me how they just changed the rules like that. Like Trevor says, an emotional, they're doing it.
Because they feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. They feel bad for what happened. I understand. As a human being, like, I feel terrible for what happened. It's bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have rules in place for this specific situations.
Yeah.
It is. I'll bring up Christian Eriksen from Denmark. That game obviously stopped. They had to resuscitate him on the field, take him to the hospital and all that. Within an hour's time, FIFA pretty much says, like, or UEFA was like, you have to resume the match. Why did they resume the match? Because that match was so important because it was a World Cup qualifying match. So if Denmark won, they would have had to advance to like the championship round to see if they advanced to the World Cup.
Wow.
So it was a very important match, so it still had to be played. Obviously, Denmark won because Denmark ended up going to the World Cup, but there was rules in place even for situations like this. It sucked. It sucked for the player. I understand that the players didn't want to play this, and I'm totally on board with that.
The bad juju attached to it. Yeah.
I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you still have to maintain like
The integrity
of the game. As fucked up as it sounds, and a lot of people criticize FIFA, a lot of people criticize UEFA for pretty much times like, yeah, you have to go out there and play again. But at the same time, you have to look at the bigger picture. It was gonna affect an entire tournament that was obviously we had the World Cup, so it was gonna affect the outcome of that. So this game obviously was gonna affect the playoffs in a drastic way. It could move the Bengals to the second seed, and then they were hoping that the Chiefs lose a game or something like that. You know, potentially move to the first seed. Buffalo goes down to the third seed. It would have been a drastic swing like that, and I just don't understand why we didn't stick to the rules in this situation. I just
Look,
don't get
I'm
it.
going to say it too. Like, even as a Chiefs fan, to say this is the Chiefs in this scenario, and they made that choice to benefit the Chiefs. Can you guys imagine with all the Patrick Mahomes? Imagine the backlash that all the other teams would be saying about the Chiefs. Oh, Patrick Mahomes, the golden boy.
Yeah, they're already saying
I'm just saying, even a Chiefs
they
fan.
think we got away with something now.
But I mean, even if they made this decision in favor of us, I wouldn't like this.
That's what I'm
because
trying to say.
I think the integrity of the league should remain intact. And they lost that. They lost so much respect among the league.
Because now NFL teams and the NFLPA are all going to go, well, what about our situation? What is the line drawn? Because next year, if something happens to another team, maybe not as significant, but they deem it as a tragedy for their team or a massive loss as a player, or can they say, well, this is going to mess with things. Maybe we can mess with the seeding again. What's to stop it? Because once you open up Pandora's box, man, once you let that toothpaste out, it's hard to put it back in the tube.
Right. So where do you draw the line, though? Say this scenario is going on. Say the Bills were a team that was possibly on the verge of missing the playoffs due to that game. Say, where do we draw the line? So if they were like working just to get in, as a wild card team. And everyone,
the Patriots.
They were still, they were still the darling. The Bills were still the darling, and Josh Allen was still the darling to win the MVP at the beginning of the season. Everyone's been rolling with them all year. They want to see them succeed. Are we going to give them a shoe into the postseason now because of this situation?
Yeah.
Where does the emotional, narrative stop here? Where's the line drawn? So say this was win or in it, or lose and you're out kind of situation. Do they replay that game?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's just strange.
My thing, and the thing that I kept telling Lance throughout the week was there's a week between the AFC Championship, NFC Championship game, and the Super Bowl, which is the Pro Bowl. Obviously, not a lot of people pay attention to the Pro Bowl because how do we know that? Well, it is completely different this year. There's actually no game.
Flag football.
Yeah, there's actually no game
football,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you had an entire week where you can move the entire playoffs back 1 week. I know it sucks, but you could create that extra week. Probably potentially move week 18 to create it at a week 19, and this weekend would have been a Bengals Bills kind of game. You would have had almost a week to recover from such a tragedy as a team, and try and move forward. And I think the NFL missed that opportunity, in my opinion, as well, because that would have been a better situation than what we're currently in right now.
And again, that is a better situation, but that still goes against what they've established as a league with the rules. So even though it is more logical, it's still against the rules.
Yeah.
The NFL broke their own rules, and it didn't have to. Like Trevor said, yes, it's a very sad story what happened. Hamlin very much could have died permanently. He did die on the field, but he was resuscitated. Yeah, and he flatlined again at the hospital. Thank you. But now we're in a position where you got to get back to the game. That doesn't mean you change the game. That's not how this goes. And I saw Zach Taylor, Kelsey Conway, the Cincinnati Bengals reporter for the Inquirer earlier tweeted today, Zach Taylor on the playoff scenario, quote, "What's in front of us is to win this weekend. From what I'm concerned, we just want the rules to be followed. Bengals not happy NFL changing the rules and not going by winning percentage. Quote, it's black and white. It's in the rule book, end quote."
Yep.
So Zach Taylor himself, the guy that's been classy this entire time, Bengals been classy this entire time, are now looking at it going, yo, how are you going to do this to us? We literally played the classy game with you guys to help the Bills to get through this tragedy. And now you're going to bone us like this? Like, what the fuck did you... So now, again, with the whole scenario I painted about what if this happens again, where you draw the line, what if this exact same thing, and I hope it doesn't, what if this exact same thing happens in 25 years from now? Some team's going to look back at the Bengals in 2023 and go, yeah, fuck that. Tough shit. We're playing the game in 2 days. Tell them we're playing the game. We're not supporting this because they got boned. Those guys got screwed. We're not going through that. Are they wrong? No. The Bengals did the classy thing,
to be honest,
and it screwed them.
That's far less complicated than what they just did. That's such a more straightforward thing. Just get rid of the Pro Bowl.
Tough shit, yeah.
Take away
the
take away that Pro Bowl week. You know what I mean? And replay that game. I don't know, man. Like it's
another situation that could have happened is if the Bills refused to play that game, as to some reports are saying that the Bills did not want to play that game,
which is well within the right.
Yeah.
Forfeit the game.
Yeah.
They forfeit the game. Give the W to the opposing team.
Yeah. Why are we moving things for the Bills?
Yeah, like why didn't the Bengals get that W if the Bills forfeited that game?
Thank
pretty
you.
much.
It's like the NFL is afraid to be the bad guys
regardless of what we think, when it comes down to it is special treatment.
Yes.
Hey, one team in the league got special treatment
The
over
NFL didn't wanna be the
everyone
bad
else.
guys.
And I want to clarify, this is not about the Chiefs. This is more about the Bengals and
you.
the
Yeah.
Ravens.
We've been talking about the Bengals almost this entire time.
Yeah.
This is about the Bengals and the Ravens getting fucked. Like
Yeah.
I said, the Ravens had an opportunity to potentially win the division had the Bengals lost the game, because they're playing this weekend. They had They had the opportunity to win the division. Now it's kind of like, well, the Bengals are the champions, so all you're doing Sunday is just playing for fun. And if you face in the wild card round, we'll flip a coin.
Yeah, the NFL the NFL made
That's fucking
the NFL made
insane.
a difficult situation even more difficult. They didn't
Way more
simplify
complicated.
this.
Yeah, it's way more complicated.
Like if you sat there and broke this down about the scenarios that can play out, your brain hurts after the second one.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? Like, how does this work? They could have just simplified it, kept it as is. Said, Bills, like you said, Eddie, Bills, you play the game or you don't. If it is well within your right because you guys had a tragedy on your field, on the field. But if you don't want to play this game, because it's like freedom of speech, you're free to say whatever you want, but you're not free of consequence. Yeah. So you're free to not play the game, but you're not free of a forfeit. So that's like you said, you take the L. And then you move forward, and the Bengals get it. They clinch their division, but the Ravens, they clinch their division, but the Ravens still have an opportunity to go up in seeding. You know what I'm saying? Like there's opportunities here.
It's equal opportunity, but not equal outcome.
Thank you.
100%. Because with Chiefs, everyone else is playing one more game than both of those teams, but the fact that they chose to not play that game, those two teams have to deal with that in their own way. And the league has to allow either them to replay the game or just the fact that it is benefiting one team here. When two teams forfeited that and called that game. Only one team's getting a benefit there. Why? Right. Why? Why is that? That's not fair to the Bengals in any way, dude. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm so furious.
Out of all the scenarios,
it's crazy.
It literally benefits just the Bills. Like, it literally.
Yeah.
And people can talk about the neutral field not even actually benefiting them because they're not going to get a home game there either if they say they face the Chiefs. But this fucks the fans over a lot too because now fans could be. I know the league is exhausted with us hosting AFC championships. Deal with it. We win games. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? We're not. The situation didn't happen to us. It happened to the Bills, and they're getting a gift because they didn't play a game. Right. That makes no sense to me.
And how about we look at it from a revenue standpoint? If you don't play this game in Kansas City as a city loses millions in revenue.
Right.
All the people, the traveling, the purchasing, going to shopping before and after the games, hotel expenses, restaurants. Kansas City takes a hit. If that game doesn't get played in Kansas City, that's something they bank on. Mm-hmm. So you're screwing so many people over, like we talked about, just to move the goalposts for one fucking team.
It looks like they're giving them an olive branch because they did beat us in the regular season. So the fact that we are most likely going to win the 1 seed here, and the way that their game went down, it feels like they're just trying to find a happy medium, and then a neutral site if we meet them in the AFC Championship game is like the happy medium.
And this is why I wanted this game to be played out so badly, because a finality in all this would put it to bed. Do I believe the Bengals are going to win that game? Yep. I picked them, and they were playing like they were going to win that game. But I know everyone's going to say, well, there was only like 7 minutes played. True. But the point remains. The game was called. It was canceled. Not just the night of, 3 nights later. So you can't tell me that finality couldn't have played its way into the equation.
It wasn't like it was against the Bills' will to want to play that game. They called it. And then the Bengals followed suit out of respect.
The Bengals were like, yeah, it's up to you guys. But the Bengals didn't do this thinking, yeah, we're going to let you guys in.
Which is okay. Which is okay. Which is fine. We were with them. We didn't think they should play the game either.
Right.
But decisions come with outcomes, and with decisions come
now, for the record, if the Bills would have came out and said, no, we do want to play the game, I'd have been in full support of that. But I was like, there ain't no way the Bills are going to want to play this game. There ain't no way they're going to try to sandwich their final 2 games within like a 6-day window. Yeah. So they're not going to do it. So that's why I was saying, Eddie, they're just going to, no contest is what I always say. But they got to keep it as is. And it was right there for the NFL to do it. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it. They squandered it. Let us know what you guys think about this. I know there's a lot of people have come at me on Twitter and on Facebook since I've been posting my opinions on this. I'm not backing down from it. I'm not trying to be Mr. Skip Bayless where I'm going to say I'm not taking the tweet down. I think this is the fair and balanced way. I think this is the most... I'm sorry. I like the idea of the NFL maintaining the rules. Call me... All right, yeah. I guess I'm being an asshole to the Bills or being insensitive, even though I've spent the last 3 or 4 days praising the fact that Hamlin's getting better and better. The point being, I just want to see the NFL maintain integrity, whether that's the Chiefs having the 1 seed or the Chiefs having the 4 seed. I don't give a damn. I just want to see the NFL maintain integrity because that way I can give them at least that respect in saying, well, you know what? This is an unforeseen circumstance. It sucks. It's unprecedented, but the NFL knew what to do. No, they didn't. They failed. Absolutely failed in this regard, and I can only hope it doesn't screw a quality product that they have each and every year in the playoffs because, man, this is what we look forward to every single season, man, is the playoff time. It's the best time of the sports calendar, man, and I really hope they don't screw it up, man, because I'm very much looking forward to it because the AFC is about as good as it's ever been, and I don't want to see that get squandered or the focus be taken off of that or another team given a pathway to walk into what I know the NFL deep down wants them to do. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. But like I said, let me know what you guys think about this. Hit us up on our YouTube channel. Give us your thoughts. We've had a ton of feedback so far, but we want to get more if you have your thoughts and opinions on this. I want to get to some Week 18 NFL picks. This is our final regular season segment of doing this. Pretty sad. The season's flown by, but like I said, at the same time, it's bittersweet because the playoffs are about to kick in, and that's the best time. But there's a few matchups that still have a lot of indications because teams still are fighting to get to the playoffs, fight for the division, fight for the wild card, what have you. I want to start with the Titans and Jaguars. This game is in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is only 39.5. The Titans are getting really healthy in this game. Derrick Henry will play. D'Amico Autry's going to play. Looks like Hooker's going to play.
Tannehill's out.
Tannehill is out, which means that Dobbs is going to play. And Dobbs actually wasn't bad last week. I'll give him credit. For a first game, eight days on the team, he went out there and played pretty well, considering the fact he didn't have Traylon Burks. He didn't have any of these. Traylon Burks will be back this week as well. At least that's what they're saying.
He did play, though, didn't he?
No, Traylon Burks didn't play.
He didn't play that game?
So they had a bunch of like ragtag guys out there, a bunch of nobodies out there, and I thought he played decent. I watched the whole game. Maybe wouldn't have done that if I can go back. It was pretty rough. But nevertheless, this is tough, man, because I didn't have the Titans in the playoffs. I didn't have the Jaguars in the playoffs to start the season. So I wasn't a big believer in both these teams. I felt like the Jaguars are a year away. I'm big on Dougie P. I really like Trevor Lawrence, and I think he's become a top 5-10 quarterback in the league this year. Really taking strides. It's amazing what happens when you actually have a head coach. I am going to pick the Jaguars in this one, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, man, I could very well see the Titans pulling this off because of the fact they've owned the Jaguars. Derrick Henry, go look at his career numbers against the Jaguars. It is them and the Texans. He's like Patrick Mahomes to the AFC West, to these two teams. Mm-hmm. It would not shock me if all the Titans pull off this upset. I mean, again, the last 3 times the Jaguars have been favorites, I think they've only actually been a favorite 3 times this season. They're 0-3 in those games. So they're a type of team that I think gets off on being an underdog, being counted out, because I think Trevor Lawrence and those guys are like, oh, nobody believes in us. And I think that's a cool thing about a team. I respect that. But when the pressure's on, you're expected to win. What are you? I think the Jaguars are the better team. I think they have the better coach, even though I love Mike Vrabel, but I think Doug Peterson is the better coach because he's a Super Bowl champion and he's done some crazy things in this league, and I think he's proven that. But I'm going to pick the Jags, but I do not think they're going to cover. I think it's Texans plus 6.5, and I think this is going to be a close, ugly, grueling game. I think there's going to be multiple opportunities for the Titans to pull this one out, but the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Joshua Dobbs will be shown in this game. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, being the quarterback he's become, and I do believe he's become a borderline elite quarterback in this league, I think that's going to shine bright's game, and I think they're going to pull out a 2-3-point victory in this one. It's going to be a close, ugly divisional win, and the Jaguars get themselves an AFC South championship and get into the playoffs. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Titans' season's already over. You know,
no, they can win the division. Well, yeah, if they win this game,
oh,
they'd have the tiebreaker.
So
they'd have the tiebreaker.
That is a thing there.
Yeah,
but
both got to play for
I think there's a drastic difference in talent here. And I think the I'm obviously picking the Jags. I know the Titans are getting healthier, but they're also playing a quarterback that has no business starting in this league. If I'm being honest, no offense to him. But Dobbs has no real business starting.
He's like a rocket scientist, isn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's fine. That's fun. That's a fun story. But there's a massive difference there in quarterback. And these are 2 great coaches going at it, 2 coaches I love and respect dearly in this league. But my difference maker in this game is the defensive line for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love them going against Dobbs. I love them. They're I think top 5, maybe top 4 at stopping the run, especially in the last 8 weeks of the year. They've been incredible as of late at getting after quarterbacks and stuffing the run. So if they slow down in any way, slow down Derrick Henry, this game's a wrap in my mind, because I think Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, all the guys, and Evan Ingram, those guys are going to just shred that secondary. That defense has been a pass funnel defense all year. They've allowed the most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks and the most receiving yards to opposing wide receiver 1s and 2s all year. They're a terrible secondary, and I expect that to continue this game. I understand they have their hopes are fighting for, but I mean, when they get into the postseason, is there any real expectation of them doing anything? There's not, and I think it's so much better for the postseason this year for Trevor Lawrence, his story, and Dougie P, his story, turning that team around, making them no one expected them to be a playoff team this year. That's an awesome story, and I think them being in the postseason is so much better for the AFC, because I can absolutely see them going and upsetting someone in the AFC postseason, whether it's the Bengals, whether it's the Bills, whatever team. I think they're one of those Cinderella kind of teams that can go and upset someone, and it happens every single year in the postseason. So I'd like the Jags here for reasons being not even that Trevor Lawrence has been hot lately. I think he's going to have a decent game, but I think it's because that defensive line stuffing and slowing down Derrick Henry. I don't expect a lot of points in this game. I think it will be defensive, but I think the offense of the Jags will do just enough to ride the momentum I think that their defense is going to bring into this game. So I think they actually win pretty comfortably. I think they win by at least a score, 7 points here. So I'm going to say they win by 7.
Okay.
I think we're all on a consensus here. I think we're all picking the Jaguars to win this game. Yes, Derrick Henry's coming back. Yes, the Titans are getting healthy, just at the right time. But how healthy are they? Are they rushing them back because of how important, how much of a magnitude this game is to the Titans? It's a winning you're in kind of situation. I do think they might be rushing players a little bit too fast. Obviously, Derrick Henry, I don't know what he's dealing with.
He's got some lingering.
He's banged up. Just like general stuff.
So how healthy is he going to be? I just think the Jaguars are such a young team that are willing to fight. And obviously, they win the division.
This means way more to them than it does the Titans.
It means a lot to Trevor Lawrence, to Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson obviously it's kind of like a revenge kind of situation because of how it went with the Eagles and the whole situation of how he was released from the Eagles. So it's kind of like a revenge thing and how he turned this team around from obviously being a top pick in the draft this past year to potentially making a push in the playoffs. Like you said, potentially upsetting a team in the playoffs, which I could definitely 100% see.
Yep.
This team, the way Trevor Lawrence has played this second half of the season has been incredible. It's like Lance said, he's borderline elite.
Especially after avoiding that major injury that we all thought he sustained. Yeah. Like we all thought that was a career, or not a career, but maybe a career-altering injury. It was scary.
So bad.
So the way Trevor Lawrence has been able to overcome such situations, obviously. In an organization like the Jaguars, obviously they're not the greatest.
Yeah, they're a losing franchise.
Yeah, so him being able to go into a losing franchise, slowly starting to turn it around with all that young talent doing their thing, I believe this means a lot more to them than it means to the Titans. The Titans are going in there with a backup quarterback. I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat this Jaguars defense. Their front seven is fucking fantastic.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard for me to see the Titans even coming close to beating the Jaguars.
Oh, even coming close.
Their secondary is so bad, dude. It's the worst in the league.
Like I said, those injuries you brought up how they're getting healthy. Are they really getting healthy, or are they rushing them back? So
I mean, they literally rested those guys last week against Cowboys, and they still almost beat the Cowboys.
And the Cowboys are
Cowboys are
okay, but they're a 12-win team. You know what I mean? Like the Cowboys are a good. They're not a great team.
No.
They're better than the Vikings. They are better than the Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like they're a better overall team.
But to me, they're the same.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Vikings have one of the worst defenses in football. That is a bad defense.
Cowboys might be the most streakiest team.
I agree. I'm not here to praise the Cowboys. You know that.
All that
I'm
talent,
saying,
they should be way better.
That was the Titans.
didn't work against the Cowboys.
The Titans fought for 4 quarters
an
against the
all-time
Cowboys
comeback.
with a bunch of backups.
The Jaguars did work against the
And
Cowboys.
that second-
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm just saying though that and to that point though, the
I
Cowboys
respect
put
Mike
34
Vrabel.
points in that Jaguars.
I
defense.
respect Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel rarely ever gets like absolutely owned.
Yeah.
Outside of that Bills game this year,
it was week
they
2.
keep almost every single game close.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? They
so-
find a way to make you play their game. They do it to everybody. They even did it to the Bengals last year. You know what I mean? But that was a close game in the postseason. Like it doesn't matter how good your team is. Mike Vrabel is just such a well-coached guy. He just knows how to keep his
I
guys
got the
playing.
Jaguars by 10 on this one.
Okay. Next game, we're staying on the AFC side of things. The Patriots are going to Buffalo to face the Bills.
I love this game, man.
All right, so the Bills, as it stands right now, are 7-point favorites. The over/under is 43.5.
Yeah.
It looks like the weather's going to be pretty good. It's partly cloudy, anywhere from 28 to 35 degrees during game time. So the weather shouldn't be a major factor in this one at all. So you look at the matchup that the Bills and Bengals have had, or the Bills and Patriots have had over the last couple of years, and the Bills have just absolutely owned the Patriots. And it's just because of an absolute mismatch. It's a lot like what the Patriots were all those years against the Bills, where you just have this superstar quarterback and you just outmatch and outclass every single time. And Josh Allen has just put it on the Patriots. That's the way I would normally envision this game going. I do think if the tragedy of Damar Hamlin was still in a critical condition situation, the Bills would come into this game very unfocused, a lot of heavy hearts, and this game, I think, would give the Patriots a lot of opportunity to pull this one off because the Patriots absolutely have to have this game or else they're eliminated from the playoffs. They will not make the playoffs. They lose this game.
If
Miami loses, they can still make it.
Oh, yeah, Skylar Thompson is starting against the Jets, but Joe
that's
Flacco's
likely.
starting.
Yeah.
So I guess that's true. We can get to that game in a second, but I think the Bills would be giving up a lot more to the Patriots in this if the Hamlin situation was different.
Yeah.
Because of the fact they got such great news today, I think their hearts are going to be a lot lighter. They can focus on football a lot more. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I do think they're going to cover as well. I think it's going to be a -7 on this one. I do think because the Patriots defense is first in the league in interceptions, Josh Allen will struggle in this one. But as we've seen over the last 2 months and change,
and he's a little banged up.
yeah, the Bills have still been winning games despite that. Now, if there was an opportunity for Mac Jones to finally have a good game against the Bills, which he's yet to do in his early career, it'd be now. Because not only is Micah Hyde out, obviously, Jordan Poyer's banged up, and then obviously Hamlin is on the IR now. So their secondary is going to be very much thin. So if Mac Jones was to ever put any type of good performance up, winning a game with 2 pass attempts against the Bills last year, this would be that time. I don't have faith in Mac Jones. I think he's one of the 3 worst quarterbacks in the league that's starting. I think the Bills are going to win this game comfortably and then move on with the 2 seed in the AFC. Trevor.
Yeah, Mac Jones is really good at being bad.
Cussing his coaches out.
I just think there's way too much emotion and momentum behind the Bills this week. As much as I want to say I'm going to pick the Patriots because I like to pick an upset, I just don't think it's going to happen. Regardless of where this game is played, I just think there's way too much emotion on the side and momentum on the side of the Bills. And things might be called their way in certain aspects of this game possibly too. Who knows? Which is odd saying that against a Belichick team because it tends to be the other way for so long. But this is the Cinderella team this year. This is what everyone wants to see this team succeed. I know they are very talented and a good team. Out of respect for them, I'm not going to act like things have just been working in their favor, even though it obviously has been just recently. But I'm picking the Bills here. I think it will be a close game because I know the Patriots got worked last time in this matchup.
And the time
I don't expect Bill Belichick to take that twice. I don't think that's going to happen to him twice. The strength of the defense of the Patriots is their secondary, but they're also very good at getting after the quarterback, which is why I picked them. I think I picked them to beat the Bills last time because of that. The way I felt their defense aligns with the strengths of countering the strengths of that Bills offense because they throw so much and they don't have a true running game. They've been running it better as of late, so which is why I think they will have a different attack this time. I think they'll run fairly well against the Patriots because they're not a very good run defense. They're a very good secondary. Unless Judon is a guy, though, that will wreck a game. Judon is one of the sack up there with the sacks leaders in this league for a reason. The guy can absolutely wreck a quarterback. And the defense of the Patriots is a very opportunistic defense. They know how to get the ball from the opposition. So I think if their only outcome to win this, the only way they win this game is if they force a couple turnovers, which is likely. Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers. So if that happens and then they slow this game down, their defense shows up and they somehow slow down the passing prowess of this offense of the Bills, this can be an interesting game, but I'm going to pick the Bills here just because of the emotional aspect of it. Them dealing what they dealt with last week, wanting to perform and show out for their brother that's still fighting to regain his health. I think that's just way too much momentum, and the Patriots can still very much make the playoffs. Because I do think they do, because I think the Miami Dolphins are done this season. Playing their third string quarterback, I think that's just tough. Going to play that against the Jets defense. I know it's in Miami, but I know that's a separate game. But I think that does play into the Patriots' favor, even if they do drop this game, which I expect them to. So I'm going to pick the Bills here I'm going to say 4.5 at least. So.
I'm going to pick the Bills on this one, but I'm going to keep it a lot. I think this game is going to be a lot closer.
It's an interesting game
than what people are expecting. I think it's going to be a 2-3 point game. Could potentially be just a 1 point game. It's going to be super close. How focused are the Bills going into this game? Obviously, it's a big tragedy of what happened just last week. They didn't get good news up until today, where they started talking to their teammates, so they were not focused on the next game at all up until today, and if that. So it's going to be a lot closer. I think the Patriots are going to be able to maintain this game a lot closer. I think the Bills are going to struggle a little bit early, probably a couple turnovers with Josh Allen. The team not being fully focused, but I think they will end up pulling it away towards the end of the third, fourth quarter. But I do think this game's going to be a lot closer. Bill Belichick just somehow gives this Patriots team some energy. This Patriots team, I had this Patriots team not even making the playoffs.
Same.
I called it.
So
I called that.
Yeah, what he's been able to do with the lack of talent. I mean, there's talent, but obviously he doesn't have the talent he once had.
He doesn't have an elite quarterback anymore.
Exactly. Mac Jones he's a good quarterback, but he's not a
I don't think so at all. I think he's terrible.
I think he's below average.
I think if I'm the Patriots, I replace him immediately.
I think he will be.
I'll go get Jimmy Garoppolo again. I'd rather have Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And he's
go
trash.
get Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, so
you can make the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo.
And he's trash. Yeah.
So I mean, to be able to put this team where it's at now, fighting for a playoff spot, obviously in the last week of the. So I think that this game's going to be a lot closer, just for the simple fact that I don't think the Bills are in the right mind yet. They could potentially be in the right mind during the game towards the second half. Obviously, it's got to be a slow start for them, but I do think they pull it out. I do think it's going to be a really, really close game. I'm going to go between 1 to 3 points.
And then we have the Bengals hosting the Ravens.
This one's going to be good, man.
Obviously, we know that Lamar's not going to play in this game. I have some theories on Lamar we can talk about maybe at another time, because I think this is going to be a very drug-out thing. I'll go as far as to say I don't think Lamar's playing for the rest of this year. I don't think he plays.
Postseason?
No, I do not think. I don't. I can explain it. The PCL it is a legitimate injury, but I also think he's protecting himself because of the fact that if he comes back, gets injured again, he's losing even more money than he's already lost for that next contract.
But not playing in the postseason is a big knock on you, man.
I get it, but he is legitimately hurt. So that's the point. Is I think Lamar's looking at this from his optics, his viewpoint, saying, "I have to protect myself." I'm sure he wants to play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's going to say, I'm healthy and I'm not playing. I think it's a combination of two things.
That's a suspicion that you have.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not going off facts. I'm an opinion here. I'm not calling Lamar out or saying anything that I have any intel or anything.
Yeah.
I'm going off of what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing from the whole situation. I'm watching John Harbaugh interviews, and he just looks like, I'm not going to have my quarterback again. And I don't think, and I know we've talked before, I don't think Lamar is going to ever play for the Ravens again.
Yeah.
I think this is his last season with the Ravens.
Yeah.
He's going to get traded. I mean, they get franchise tag and all that other shit. I don't think it's going to get that way. I think the Ravens are going to be like, look, we're an established franchise. We can move off, and we can figure this out. We can become a 10-win team with another quarterback. Mm-hmm. There's going to be plenty of guys out there that can go and get. Derek Carr's out there. Jimmy Garoppolo's out there. There's guys out there.
Derek Carr with the Ravens, I think that would be a
I'm just throwing
fit.
names out there. I'm just saying.
Please keep Derek Carr in the AFC.
Nevertheless, the Ravens and Bengals have something to play for in this game technically.
Not really.
Well, because if the Ravens win, they can get that coin toss and potentially have a home playoff game.
Seeding for sure.
So there's a lot of opportunity. And thank you, NFL, by the way, for this. The Bengals are 9-point favorites. The over-under is only 39.5. It's supposed to be scattered showers. Looks like it's supposed to rain. 47% chance of rain. A high of 39. So it's gonna be a little bit of a colder, rainy-ish day. So it probably will be an uglier game, which actually favors the Ravens. That actually can make this game closer. And we saw earlier in the season, the Ravens pulled out a victory. They did have Lamar, but it was a 17-16 nasty, ugly, just a really bad football game. They pulled that one out in Baltimore. I think, though, as much as I touched on with the Bills having heavy hearts, and that might be a reason why that game might be a little closer than it probably should be, I think it's going to be the opposite when it comes to the Bengals this week. I know that, again, I'm going to give the Ravens some benefit of the doubt here. They've managed to be a 10-win team without having Lamar for essentially 5-6 games. But I think the Bengals are going to come out here and make an absolute statement that they belong. And honestly, guys, that's the team that I worry the most about, legitimately, about the Chiefs facing them again in the playoffs, because I think they're the most complete team in the NFL, outside the 49ers. But they have such a significant upgrade at quarterback. The Bengals are such a good team, and they're pissed off right now. I feel bad for the Ravens. I think they're going to win this game by double digits. I actually think they're going to cover the 9. I don't think the Ravens can score 20. They can't score points without Lamar Jackson. And even with Lamar Jackson, they were struggling at times. They don't have weapons. Outside of Mark Andrews, there's nobody on that team that's even even remotely threatening. Outside of him, J.K. Dobbins has been fine, but you can tell he's running scared out there. I'm just saying, though,
he looked great last week.
I know what I'm saying, but you can tell his body, he's like afraid of falling certain ways or running certain ways. He has that leg really tense. J.K.'s been really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, with the Bengals coming into this game with all this motivation of making sure they get the best chance possible in the playoffs, I think they're going to come out here and play well. I think they're going to score probably around 27 points, and I think they're going to win this game by 10. I don't see how the Ravens score 20 points in this game. I'm going to say it's like 27-17, and I'm going to give the Bengals the advantage of this one. Trevor?
I'm picking the Ravens in this game.
Oh, God.
I hate to kick a team when they're down. I think the momentum for the Bengals has been derailed. I really, really do. And listen, I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and win big in any way. I think if this is a drag-out dog kind of fight, that's perfect for the Ravens, because they are a run-first offense, and the Bengals' rush defense is not that great. Their secondary has been pretty good, but at moments they're like a solid defense all the way around. But the Ravens' running offense is so good. Huntley does not need to be he hasn't had to been good this entire time, and they continue to win games. Listen,
we're not beating good teams, though.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they beat Atlanta, they beat Pittsburgh, they beat Denver, and they beat Carolina and New Orleans. Tampa Bay, Cleveland.
Against that Pittsburgh defense is far better than the Bengals defense. They ran all over them.
Their last 7 victories are against non-playoff teams in the Bucs.
But, I mean, okay, there's an emotional aspect here. We just talked about the Bills having that emotional aspect with, the momentum for playing for their guy. Listen, momentum is such a big deal in sports in general, especially in football. I could be dead wrong on this, and if the Bengals win, I'm not going to be surprised in any way. I just have a feeling about this game. This is a game where you think the Bengals, obviously the Bengals feel screwed, but so do the Baltimore Ravens.
Sure.
And who's the better coach in this situation? Who fares better in a fight when it's a slower paced defensive game, a run heavy game?
Yeah.
The Baltimore Ravens, 100%, because the Bengals are one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. They are terrible at running the ball. They've had one really big game from Joe Mixon this year. That's it. Hit that 5-touchdown game. Other than that, they're one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. Granted, they are incredible at throwing the ball, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I get that. But the Ravens secondary plays well against them for some reason.
How many think the points would the Ravens have to score?
I'm taking the under. I think.
How many points do you think they would have to score to beat the Bengals?
I would say north of 20, and I think they could get there.
They haven't scored 20 points in 6 weeks.
Yeah, sure. This is what I'm saying. I'm playing into the factor. I'm playing into the idea that the derailing of the motivation of the role that the Bengals offense was on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And football is brutal, bro. This is a brutal game, and these are two teams that know each other very well, fighting for the division. You know what I mean? So this is just one of those things where I just feel like, listen, I think the dog, if I'm picking the dog here, like a dog team that's going to go out there and grind it out and find a way to win, it's John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. Because I've seen them do that over and over again. I know they haven't beat the most talented teams, but they have already beat. Lamar had a trash game against the Bengals, and they still won. So if Huntley can go out here and have like a semi-pedestrian game, a mediocre kind of game from him, that I trust that defense to go find a way to slow that offense down and have that doggy kind of game, because they can slow the pace of this game down and run the ball really well. I think the Baltimore Ravens win this game. If they don't, I don't think they win. But I'm banking on them running the ball successfully against a mediocre rush defense against that the Bengals have, and the crushing of the momentum of the Bengals rolling into this week, where they had a whole pretty much a bye week. Where they had to sit and think about and sit on this situation. Granted, they are upset, but how do they respond? I'm banking on the Ravens being ready for them. That's why I'm going with the Ravens here. I think they win by 3.
I'm going with the Bengals in this one.
Yeah.
I think they're just a better team by far. They have the better quarterback. I guess you can say they have ultimately almost similar running games. Joe Mixon he's pretty good at what he does.
The running games are similar?
The Ravens haven't been that great.
Their whole offense is based around running the ball. They're one of the best rushing offenses in the league.
Like Len said, they struggle to score points.
I
just don't see.
But rushing production, it's not even close, bro. Like the yards per game, the attempts, the way they win games, that's how they win games. The Bengals are terrible at running the ball. They're like one of the top 3 worst rushing offenses in the league. Mixon hasn't had much opportunity to score because their offensive line is not good at run blocking.
They're terrible in the red zone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's why they throw so many touchdowns, because all they do is throw the ball.
Yeah, I'm just the better team are the Bengals.
For sure. It's not even close.
I just don't see the Ravens going out there and dominate this game. The Bengals have the momentum. I know you said that this past week derails their momentum. I think it only helps elevate their momentum because they just got fucked.
Yeah, I'm playing that narrative. It could definitely go the other way. 100%.
I think the Bengals are pissed. We've seen their Twitter. They're just like, I guess onto the Ravens. Kind of like, so they're pissed off at the NFL, and I think they want to make a statement. Says like, "Fuck you, NFL," and they're gonna make a statement against the Ravens, who are a divisional rival, and obviously, I just think that. The weather could be a little bit concerning. It might get like a nasty. We might see another very, very close game, kind of like what we saw in like week 6? Week 5?
I think it was one of those weeks. I don't remember exactly when they played.
Yeah, it was like week 5, week 6, where it was like it was pretty rough. Even though Joe Burrow still had like 220 yards and like a touchdown, 1 pick. I can see this. I can see the Ravens. Probably making it close with a pick or so, but I just don't see it. Jamar Chase is just going to be too much for this Ravens defense. Just him alone in any kind of defense, he is too much, and he's proven that. And like I said, they're pissed off, they're hungry, they want to win, and they want to make it far into the playoffs and make a statement. So I'm picking the Bengals in this one.
Then we have a game of 2 teams that had once very promising seasons on their hands and have absolutely squandered it. The Dolphins are hosting the Jets. AFC East showdown. Dolphins still have playoff hopes. Jets are obviously been eliminated, losing 6 of their last 7. Dolphins once had the 2 seed in the AFC literally 3-4 weeks ago. But have lost 5 straight games, making them 8-8 going into this game. Wild to think that this team could have a losing record as the way they started at 8-3 this season, being one of the most prolific offenses. Yep. Both of these teams are insanely banged up, too. I'm looking at the injury report. Holy fuck, it's bad. You're talking about Tua Tagovailoa's out, Taron Armstead's out, Kendall Lamb out, Cedric Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, Bradley Chubb might miss, Xavier Howard might miss. The list goes down. Jalen Waddle was on the list with a shoulder. Jalen Phillips was on there. Eric Fisher, who they just signed a little while ago. Melvin Ingram was not injury related, but he should play. Raheem Mostert was on the injury report. He should go. But on the Jets side, you're talking about Dwayne Brown might not play. Brandon Eccles, George Fant, LaMarcus Joyner, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, C.J. Uzomah. Mike White probably won't play. I think Joe Flacco's getting the start, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought Mike White was going to play.
C.J. Mosley was a full participant. He's been on the list all day. Point is, both these teams are banged up. Both these teams have been utter disappointments down the stretch of the season. I really wanted to give the Jets the edge in this one because of the fact they have the better defense considering all these things. But knowing that the Dolphins have so much to play for in this game,
It's in Miami.
I do not have any faith in Skylar Thompson, but I do think that the Dolphins are going to find a way to have a very ugly victory in this one. I could see like a 21-18.
They're going to try to run the ball.
20-17 kind of game, just where it's ugly as shit. Moster would probably be the X factor in this one. Maybe Tyreek Hill has one big play.
Jeff Wilson's
a really good scat back. I think that that's an opportunity for those kind of guys to carry the load. I don't think either defense is going to play a great game because I think both offenses are just going to play pretty bad. But it's going to be an ugly, boring AFC East showdown. I think the Dolphins find a way to squeak into the playoffs, and I think they get this victory. So yeah, I'm gonna give the Dolphins a slight edge. They're at a 3.5 right now. That sounds about right. The over-under is only at 37. That also sounds about right because I said like 20-17, which would match the 37 points on the over-under. It's supposed to be beautiful as always, 79, sunny in Miami. The sons of bitches out there. And a low of 65. I'm taking the Dolphins, and I don't feel great about it, but I also would feel even worse about it if I picked the Jets. So I'm going to go Dolphins.
I'm taking the Jets here, man, all day.
Woo.
I think the Jets are going to go put up points.
Oh.
The Dolphins' defense has been bad, and the Jets' offense with Flacco played well whenever he was in. And they still got Garrett Wilson. They got all their offensive guys are going to be playing. Zonovan Smith or Zonovan
probably won't play though. They're tight end. Yeah,
that's not that big of a deal. They have Conklin, who's their starting tight end, who's been really good. So they're going to have almost all their offensive weapons. They have both their running backs outside of obviously Breece Hall being done for the year, but they still have Zonovan and they still got Michael. I can't remember his last name. Anyways, they have all their offensive weapons. I think the Jets' offense is going to go score. I think they really do. I think Joe Flacco was averaging like 300 yards a game and like a touchdown and a half. He was playing well. And this defense of the Dolphins, and it even when healthy, wasn't very good. So if they're going to be banged up like that, and they're going to be without Xavier and Howard too, that's rough. I think he's going to go out there and I think have a fairly good game. I think the Jets win this game. This is a pride game for them. And trends are big for me in the NFL, especially when it comes to 4 straight losses. You know what I mean? You lost 4 straight games. I think a 5th one's looming here. I'd have no faith in Skylar Thompson to go out there and throw on that Jets defense. I know they're going to try to run the ball, but that defense is so good. I know it's on the road, but I just feel like this is a pride game here for Robert Saleh. I think that he's going to have those boys ready to play, and I think that's a defeated Miami team right there. The only way they win this game, obviously, in my mind, I know they're going to try to run the ball, but I don't think that's how they do it. Tyreek Hill's going to have a game. Because I know Waddle's banged up, but Waddle's going to play.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy. He tends to play through a lot of that stuff. He's been banged up a lot throughout the season. Tyreek Hill is just an Iron Man. Tyreek Hill is an absolute – he is a soul – he rips the souls out of a lot of teams. We've experienced a lot of those on the right side of that for some years here. And that's the only way in my mind he somehow goes scorched earth against that secondary, a very tough secondary. But if they find a way to get him involved and get the ball out quick to Tyreek Hill, let him create – that's the only way. I think they're going to have to score points because I think the Jets are going to go score points. So I'm picking the Jets here to win by, I'll just say 3 to play it safe, but I think they go put up points.
Give me the Jets in this one, baby. I'm taking the Jets in this. We've seen what the Dolphins are without Tua. We've seen it. They lost 3 straight games without Tua with his first concussion, and now since Tua's been gone, I think they lost 2 straight already. This team is not good without Tua. These quarterbacks, Teddy was doing work, and then he went down.
Shit, they weren't good with Tua the last few weeks anyways.
Yeah. And Teddy was doing his thing, but he unfortunately went down with an injury, and they brought up the third string, and my God, that was a drastic change from Teddy to the third string. It got even worse. So I just don't see where this third string quarterback, unless they, like Trevor said, unless they do some crazy runs with Tyreek Hill and Mostert and create some kind of weird plays and
get the ball out fast.
Catch the Jets off guard. I just think this Jets defense is gonna be it's good enough to stop Tyreek Hill. You put Sauce Gardner on Tyreek Hill, you can potentially have a good matchup throughout the entire game.
And sometimes the scariest teams are the teams that have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The Jets already eliminated, and they have
can play party pooper.
And they have in their hands a chance to eliminate the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And take them down with them.
Be a nice way to end the season.
Yeah, they can play party pooper, man. 100%.
Yeah, so that could be a great cherry on top for the Patriots right there.
Yeah.
I I just don't see how this Miami team with the third string quarterback can go and beat the Jets. I just think that the road team here is going to do their thing, going to Miami. Beautiful weather, beautiful sun.
Yeah.
You know,
when Joe Flacco, I mean, he's a capable quarterback
Beautiful
too.
sun.
When it's a guy that you just need to go out there and throw the ball around, and Joe Flacco can do that. So.
And we've seen Joe Flacco. Was it early in the season? Was it early in the season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks. The first 2-3 weeks without their quarterback, their star quarterback, superstar quarterback. Joe Flacco was doing his thing. They were winning games, and I think Joe Flacco was good enough to push this offense, which I think is talented enough to beat this Miami defense. Miami's defense is not that great. It's not that great. Their secondary has not been promising like it should on paper.
Bad, really.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. And there's nothing to take away from that defense, really. So I do think the Jets go into Miami and take a win. But I would say by 7.
And then we have the final game that I want to touch on, and obviously we'll give you guys our full slate of picks before the games tomorrow to let you know where we stand on every single game. The Detroit Lions are visiting the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
This is a game that would pretty much decide which of these teams would potentially make the playoffs. I think there's something...
the Detroit Lions need the Seahawks to lose.
Yes.
Yep.
The Packers win and they're in.
Yes,
Packers win and they're in. Detroit has to have the Seahawks lose.
Came all the way back, bro.
The Lions have won 7 of their last 9. The Packers, including beating the Packers, I think it was the first of those 7 victories. Packers have won their last 4 games, and have really, resurrected their season. It's unbelievable.
Dude.
Everybody threw dirt on them, including myself.
That defense. Defense, bro.
It's funny too because as soon as the ball was taken out of Rodgers' hands and they just started running the ball more, they've gotten better.
They become a run-first defensive team.
It's wild. It's really elevating some things. I want to say this, and before I get to my prediction, if the Packers lose a home game to the Lions to keep them from going to the playoffs,
Not gonna happen.
This will be Aaron Rodgers' last game of the Packers. I will say that right now.
I'm with it, yeah.
They will find a way to trade him and move on with Jordan Love and get picks for Aaron Rodgers. And I think it would be the Tennessee Titans that get Aaron Rodgers. But we could talk about that at another time. But I have to believe that if Aaron Rodgers is the great quarterback we know him to be, if the Packers are really a team that have resurrected their career like the gif of Undertaker getting out of the coffin, then I have to believe they're going to be able to outclass Jared Goff, who's had a really good season, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
They've beaten good teams
Respect.
on the road, too, no less. Very motivated bunch. But I still think the Packers are the better overall team, especially how they've been playing of late on the defensive side, with Jair Alexander shutting down the best receiver in football, Justin Jefferson, just a week ago. I'm going to confidently pick the Packers because of what happened last time. So the last time these two teams faced, the Lions won an ugly game 15-9.
Yeah.
If you remember, Aaron Rodgers threw not 1 but 2 red zone interceptions, which was the only time in his career he's ever done that.
Anomaly.
He threw 3 total picks. Had a horrific game, a 54 quarterback rating.
Yep.
Completed 54% of his passes. Aaron Rodgers led the team in rushing in that game. He was also completing 7 passes in total to something called Josiah DeGuara and Samori Toure. Who the fuck are these guys?
Romeo Doubs and Watson were both out in that
Romeo
game.
and Watson. Well, Watson did play, but he got hurt in the game.
Yeah.
And Watson wasn't playing nearly as good as he has been over the last month.
Well, yeah, they built the chemistry now. Yeah.
I think the Packers are going to score points in this game. I don't believe in the Lions' defense. I know they've been playing better. And I know the over-under right now is at 49. So the NFL is predicting this game to be a high-scoring game.
Almost all the Detroit games are.
And it's going to be cold as shit outside. Yeah. It's supposed to be like a high of 28. It's like a typical Lambeau game in December and January. Mm-hmm. The Packers are 4.5-point favorites. I'm going to give them the points. I'm laying the points. I think the Packers cover the 4.5, and they get themselves in the motherfucking playoffs. I'm giving the Packers this game. Do we finally agree on a game?
You already know.
There we go.
You already know I'm rolling my guy, dude. Rodgers is going to go put work on these Detroit Lions. He knows his hopes are in the. I mean, this is
primetime game, by the way.
Yes, dude. This is the game. Outside of the Chiefs game, obviously the Chiefs Raiders is always dominant for me, but outside of that, this is my favorite game of the weekend. I want to see Aaron Rodgers make the playoffs. Having Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in the postseason is just so good for the league, especially a watered down NFC right now. They need those guys. They need those names in the postseason. I think it's just bound to happen. I think Aaron Rodgers goes in. He doesn't need to have a great game to go beat them. That defense has been playing. I was stoked on that defense heading into this year, and they really, really struggled a lot of the season. They just weren't doing what I thought. Jair was in and out with injuries, but he's been so dominant lately. Called his shot on the best receiver in football and shut his ass down. Had one catch for 15 yards. The worst performance of his career.
The only big cap he's had over the last couple of weeks has been the hat he actually wore.
How do you not love Jair, dude? A cornerback that can call a shot and shut down the best receiver in football is. I mean, talk about heavy nuts. That dude's walking around with a heavy set right now.
Hanging out with some ankle
I
breakers.
love that defense, and they've had a lot of injuries through the year, and they've somehow found a way to. Shout out to Coach LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers finding a way to steer the ship and I mean, everyone wrote them off. I even wrote them off. As much as a big Aaron Rodgers fan is, I wrote them off. I thought they were done. I just didn't see it in them. They were lifeless. They've somehow turned it around and won 4 straight games. I don't think that stops here. I think they're going to go put it on Detroit. Detroit has had a fun run here. They are a team that is trending in the right direction moving forward. I think they have something there. I think they're well coached at this point. And I think building off Hutchinson and that defense can definitely become something. And that offense, obviously with Amon-Ra, is an absolute stud. I think has potential to be elite in this league. But not this year. I think this is another chance for Aaron Rodgers to make a run here in the postseason, and we'll get there obviously once we start making postseason predictions. But I think they start with it here, they finish the business here, and they get into the postseason. I just think the Packers are the better team here defensively, especially the way they're rolling. Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there, maybe toss a touchdown or 2. The way they run the ball with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I think they will take care of their business. But the addition in the chemistry built between Christian Watson and Aaron Rodgers lately has just been nothing but a touchdown fiend. And I think that continues against a very suspect secondary of Detroit. I think they're going to go have a field day offensively and defensively. I think they work the Detroit Lions. I have them winning by 10.
I'm picking the Packers in this game as well. They just got hot at the right time. They got hot at the right time, and they're winning, and they're winning convincingly. Even though
dominated last week, dude.
So it's crazy how they just dominated the Vikings. A Vikings team that obviously puts up points. I just don't know where this Packers team came from. I really don't. It all started when Aaron Rodgers started trusting his wide receiver more, his rookie receiver, in Watson. Watson's a fucking baller.
Kid's a stud.
And I'm glad that he got the connection with him. But once he got that connection with Aaron Rodgers, the Packers started cooking, started getting rolling. He started putting trust on his players after he seen what Watson could do with that ball. So obviously the coach had a lot to do with that. Obviously creating chances for Aaron Jones, making those run plays, helping create run plays. Because the Packers were just relying way too much on Aaron Rodgers and his arm, and we say it with the Chiefs. It's like, run the damn ball. If you run the ball, you're more likely to win because you have such a great team.
Yeah,
and you could do that.
And you got a quarterback that just can make play when you need him to.
When you need him to. So this team, I just don't see the Lions going into Sunday and winning this game. I just don't. I don't see it. They very well could. I mean, like you said, they won 7 of the last 9 games, and they've won some pretty good games. But I just think the Packers got hot just at the right time, and the Packers are hungry. They're hungry because everybody wrote them off, and I think they're angry, and they're proving it week in, week out, and they could potentially try and make a deep push in the playoffs. But we get to that when we get to that. But I do think the Packers are the better team, hot at the right time, and I got them winning by 7.
I like it. If you have any of your picks, if you guys want to give us your predictions of what you think in these games in particular, any game on the Saturday and Sunday slate that you want to throw down on, let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. Point spreads, over-unders, outrights, whatever you guys got. Hit us up with that on the YouTube channel, on the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get to the Chiefs and Raiders.
Let's do it.
The final regular season game for the Chiefs. They win this game. We already know the cat's out of the bag. Obviously, they win this game. They're going to get the 1 seed in the AFC. May not be what we are accustomed to when it comes to 1 seeds, but I guess we're going to live through it. First thing I want to address is the injury reports for both teams. So overall, the Chiefs are still very healthy. Nick Bolton was a full participant, even though he's been dealing with a rib. Joe Tooney's had that ankle injury that I can't believe he played on last week. Then he was writhing in pain. He was questionable this week. He was a limited participant. It does sound like he's going to give it a go. I would kind of like potentially how the game goes. If the game goes well for the Chiefs early, that maybe Joe doesn't play all 4 quarters.
He's a full participant.
Absolute warrior.
Yeah.
L'Jarius Sneed has the hip pointer still. He's been a limited participant, but he has been at practice. He is questionable. I'm assuming he's going to give it a go. Yeah. Sky Moore is out, though. His hand is swollen still, according to Andy Reid. So I obviously we're not going to see Sky Moore, but he hasn't been overly effective. And with the addition of McCole Hardman coming back, I think that was already going to be the case anyway. Speaking of McCole Hardman, he was a limited participant, but he is expected to play, probably on a pitch count, probably limited. But it would be good to see him on the field regardless. Harrison Butker, Chiefs kicker, has back spasms. It's been a season for Harrison, to put it mildly. He was a full participant, but they did sign Matthew Wright again for the second time this season, which lends me to believe that Harrison Butker's not playing in this game. Otherwise, why the hell did the Chiefs sign Matthew Wright? I don't really see the reason. He did miss practice. Harrison Butker did miss Thursday's practice with back spasms, and on Wednesday, obviously. But on Friday, he was pictured at practice. So we'll see with all that. I ain't going to get too much into it. On the Raiders side of things, this is where it gets interesting because they have a little bit of a longer list, not by much, but Curtis Bolton, Zamir White, Devontae Adams, A.J. Cole, and Jarrett Stidham were all on the list, but were full participants, so it's not. I don't think that they're going to obviously miss. It does look like Darian Butler with the concussion, the linebacker, is going to miss this game. They're saying he's out. And the most interesting one is Josh Jacobs. So he's been out pretty much all week.
Yeah.
He's missed back-to-back practices, which is never a good sign, with a hip, oblique, and an NIR. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't look good for Josh Jacobs in this game. And if the Raiders don't have Josh Jacobs, I mean, they didn't have a very good chance in this game at all, but without the best running back of this season out there for this offense, with a backup quarterback, they better hope that Josh Jacobs can find a way to get out there and be effective, no less. But he is questionable. We'll see if he ends up getting out there. I'm sure he'll try to give it a go.
Is this game important to him? Because he's going to get paid next
season. He's got a contract.
Yeah,
there's a contract dispute as well, so we'll see with that. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of this matchup. The first thing I want to point to, outside of the injuries, is whenever the Chiefs are facing a team, I want to know what their defense is, what they're capable of against good offenses, because they're about to face a great offense. Versus the Chiefs, Chargers, Jaguars, Seahawks, and 49ers this season, the Raiders' defense have allowed 29 points per game and are allowing 25 points per game at home. That would be 7th worst in the NFL, period. Patrick Mahomes, when it comes to the season he's having, obviously we're all watching the stat tracker and things of that nature. Obviously, everybody knows he needs 430 passing yards to break Peyton Manning's single-season passing yards record. And for the record, I think I speak for all of us, we want to see this happen.
100%.
We do want to see this happen.
Yeah.
We want to see him own the record. And I know he and Andy Reid want him to own the record as well, of course. Who the hell wouldn't want to own that record if you're able to? But I'm going to say something. As much as I want to see this happen, as much as I would love to see Patrick go out there and just wield the ball around and throw for 480 yards and 3-4 touchdowns, if it does happen, history tells us it would be because he has to. So Patrick Mahomes has thrown for at least 430 yards in 5 regular season games during his career so far. In those games, the Chiefs are only 3-2, and in those games, their defense has allowed 28 points per game. Only one of those wins, excuse me, were by double digits, and ironically versus the Raiders in 2019 in that game that Tyreek Hill didn't play and he threw 4 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Yep.
That was the only game they won by, a comfortable margin. Now, it's 3 whole years ago. In other words, more times than not, Mahomes has had to throw that many yards out of necessity. And look, I get that Jarrett Stidham played really well in that first half for the 49ers. I was shocked by that. Trevor was watching the game before I got back home. I did a post game with Marcus Dash of Chiefs Concerns, and I couldn't believe his stat line. It looked incredible. But here's the thing, man. The 49ers came into that week with 0 film on Jarrett Stidham in the Josh McDaniels scheme. Furthermore, I think the 49ers came into that game feeling pretty good about themselves, and I don't think they felt like they were going to have to put out their A game defensively. And once you saw them put it out there, and Nick Bosa started to turn on the throttle a little bit, they were shutting the Raiders down a lot of times in that second half and forced forced 2 turnovers. But to the Niners' credit, it was against a team that was playing overachieving, and Brock Purdy finally had a couple mistakes.
Yeah.
So considering all these things, the 49ers still pulled the victory out, playing a C- game, still pulled the game out. And once again, the Raiders blew a 17-point lead, I think, for the 6th time this season, which is an historic thing to achieve. And I think if you played that game again, I think the 49ers win that game by 17 because they're just a significantly better team, and I think they would have their attention and focus and, quite frankly, the respect a lot more than what they had going into this game. I am not expecting Jarrett Stidham to look as sharp in this matchup, which means I'm not expecting Patrick Mahomes to hit that record. I'm not expecting him to get it. Because, like I said, only 5 times, and he's started, 72, 73 games in his career. More than likely, it's not going to happen. He's probably going to have an awesome game. I mean, I'm fully expecting him to throw 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and finish the season with 53, 5,400 yards and 44-ish touchdowns. And the reason why I feel that way more than anything is in Week 5, even though that game was close, Patrick Mahomes was annihilating that Raiders defense for the majority of that game, throwing 4 touchdowns, all 4 to Travis Kelce, by the way, which was hilarious because Travis had 26 receiving yards, but had 4 touchdowns. Like, what in the hell happened in that game?
So fun.
Patrick also completed 67% of his passes. He had 43 pass attempts, 292 yards with a 117 quarterback rating. So
we were down 17-0.
Yes, and the Chiefs scored 30 points after this when the second quarter started, or for the rest of that game. And here's the biggest thing, man. Again, with the Raiders defense, they have 0 answers on the defensive side for this matchup when it comes to now about as healthy as the offense can be. With their offensive line is about as healthy as our Joe Tooney's still banged up, but he's supposed to play. Yep. With McCole Hardman back, with Kadarius Toney back in the mold. And here's the biggest thing. With Butker potentially out or at best banged up, I'm expecting the Chiefs to be ultra-aggressive offensively in this game, knowing that if they win this game, they get another additional week off so they can rest. They can go out there and put it on this team. I'm expecting them to be aggressive on 4th downs and 2-point conversions. And with McCole Hardman being on a snap count, I think they're going to be selective with when they play him. So I think you're going to see him on the 3rd and shorts, 4th and 1s, goal line plays, things like that, where he's been so effective this season when he was healthy. Mm-hmm. And along with Kadarius Toney on the field, who's been so effective since he's been back, this is the first time they've been together since Week 9, and they didn't play a lot because Kadarius Toney only played a couple snaps in that game. Not to mention Jarrett Clutch McKinnon on a month-long tear, who's been one of the best offensive players in the league over the last month. I'm expecting the Chiefs to be very efficient on 3rd and 4th downs and convert at least 1 2-point conversion in this game. And just a side note here, and I'm going to get to your guys' thoughts on this game, there is a record that Patrick Mahomes will get this week. It is the all-time single-season NFL record for total offense. So Drew Brees currently owns it right now at 5,562. Patrick Mahomes only needs 186 pass plus rushing yards to get that record. Because if you combine his passing yards and his rushing yards, he would eclipse that with 186 total yards. And he's 100% going to get that. And he's going to have the single-season total offense record over Drew Brees, who set that in 2011. So there will be a record that is broken. It'd be awesome if the other one is broken. But also, if that 430 yards is needed in this game, it's not a good sign. It means that the defense did not play well against a backup quarterback, which is what Jarrett Stidham is, with a banged-up Josh Jacobs, if he plays at all. I think that this is a game where the Chiefs have to go out there and put some points up. They need to make a statement. Defense needs to play well. They need to go out there and have one of their best games they've had in a long time, because let's be honest, the Seahawks game was a ho-hum 14-point victory. It wasn't a real fun game. They didn't really put up a lot of points, put up 24 points. Patrick looked like an MVP a lot. But I think in this game, they need to have one of those 49ers, Buccaneers types of performances where they go up there and flirt with 40 points, finish off the regular season strong as hell against a divisional foe that wants to play spoiler, go and get that 1 seed and go get it demandingly. I'm expecting the Chiefs play a very efficient game and score some points in this one. Sure, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm expecting a competitive game because I have respect for teams that need to make a statement. And in divisional games, man, say what you want. We won by 1 point last time we faced the Raiders. Granted, I know they went up 17-0.
Well, they were also, the ball was taken from the Chiefs as well when Chris Jones got that from Derek Carr, put the Chiefs in the red zone.
Sure, but I mean, that's an addition to us being down 17-0. But the fact that we were down 17-0 was a problem, and that game was an odd one because
Derek Carr played well.
Sure. And one thing too that you didn't mention, and I'll mention, is that Isaiah Pacheco wasn't a thing then. Isaiah Pacheco is 100% a thing now. A running back in this league that's averaging over 5 a carry. You know what I mean? So I think the fact that our running game has come alive with the addition of McKinnon, who also McKinnon led the team in rushing attempts that game with 8.
Yeah.
We barely ran the ball at all in that game. But Patrick Mahomes had 4 carries in that game. You know what I mean? So that was a strange game. There was a scary moment where Devontae Adams damn near caught that ball. He bobbled it just enough to that call to be overturned. It was a very close game. That game could have went the other way. So those guys were battling at that time. Derek Carr had a good game in that one. We did just enough to win by 1 point, and I'm expecting the Raiders at home to want to put up and put in this game, in this season, on a solid note and on a positive note. So beating the Chiefs is as big as you can get for the Raiders. For the underachieving that they did this year. Devontae Adams frightens me. He's a guy that just, no matter who he's playing, is going to get his. So I fully expect that to happen. Our secondary is not a secondary that's going to go and shut down a Devontae Adams. It's just not going to happen. I expect him to have a good game. Darren Waller's playing. That's another guy that frightens me a little bit too over the middle. He's a guy that can eat. We allowed tight ends to kind of get theirs a lot of times. We were one of the teams that kind of allowed George Kittle to kind of get his momentum going. You know what I mean? So guys like that can definitely eat against us. So I expect points to be scored in this game. I think both teams score well into the early to mid 20s. I think we're going to need to score at least 38 to go win this game. And I think Patrick Mahomes absolutely balls out. But I do like the complement of the running game that we have found that balance as of late with McKinnon, especially in the passing game, obviously. But I think Pacheco being that dog that we didn't have before. We didn't have a dog running the ball last time we played them. And obviously trailing by 17 kind of takes the running game kind of out of the game. And just change the whole game plan of that one. So I think this game I think we play from ahead. I don't think we go down 17-0 in this one. But I do think that the Raiders will come out and will be firing. I think Stidham's going to go out there and throw the ball. He looked impressive. I'm not going to take away the fact that the Niners didn't have film on him or not. I respect the performance I saw out of Jarrett Stidham. That was a close game all the way through. And he made some mistakes, and so did the Niners. But to do that on the Niners defense, I'm going to give you respect regardless of the name on the jersey. So listen, I think the Chiefs are going to pay respect and come in ready to play a quarterback that just had a really good performance against a really good defense. But I expect our offense to go out there and have a game plan ready for this terrible secondary of the Raiders, and not let it be remotely as close as it was last time, and not put ourselves in a hole like we did last time. As long as we play a clean game, no turnovers, and we don't have a shit ton of penalties, I expect a dominant performance offensively from Patrick Mahomes this week. I think we win by 10 points, but I do think points will be scored in this game. But I do think we win in a pretty convincing manner. I think Patrick Mahomes balls. I think Travis Kelce is just they have no answer for Travis Kelce. I know he didn't have the yardage last time, but for you allow any one individual in any game, in any NFL game, to score 4 touchdowns on you, that's just an ass whooping. Period. Point blank. There's no answer for that. And I expect Travis Kelce to get his yards and maybe a touchdown or 2 in this game. They have no one that can hold him. I mean, over the last couple of years, Abram was kind of that guy that was that would kind of like physically kind of be there with Travis Kelce, but even then, they don't have him anymore because they cut him. So I just think the over the middle and the little curl routes that Travis Kelce does, I think it's going to eat him alive. We're going to move the sticks consistently. But yeah, I know we'll get to our guys who we think are going to go off in this offensively and defensively, but in this matchup, I think the Chiefs have way too much to play for here. This is an extremely important game. We got to end this season strong, and I'm riding obviously with the better quarterback in the much better situation here. But I do think it will be a competitive game, as are, for some reason, even as bad as the Broncos have been this year. We like to have these divisional games just competitive, no matter what names are on the jersey, no matter how shitty the rosters are. We just tend to like to keep the games close and interesting for some reason. Sorry for the hearts and the health of the Chiefs fans. It's just something that we like to do. So I expect it to be a close game, but I think we pull away, and I think we win by 10 points.
Like it.
I got the Chiefs winning this game, but I do think it's going to be a very, very close game. It could potentially come down to a field goal towards the end of the game to win the game. I look back at their first match of the season, and the Chiefs did not look good at all. They were struggling.
Really?
They were struggling. They were struggling bad. They were getting beat. Max Crosby was having a field day. He was putting the pressure on Mahomes. There's a big reason why they went up 17-0. defense couldn't stop the Raiders' offense. They just couldn't find a way to get to Derek Carr. They had no pressure on Derek Carr early in the game, and the Raiders went away from Josh Jacobs in the running game. I don't know why, but towards the second half that they went away because the Chiefs were scoring points.
Yeah.
They went away from the running game, and obviously the Raiders' running game is what you win some games. And I think if they would have stayed to their plan, I think Josh Jacobs could score or done some more damage to this defense. What I saw last week from Stidham or whatever his name is was impressive, especially against a Niners defense, a top 2 defense in the league. I don't care if you have film or no film on a quarterback. If you're a top 2 defense, you're gonna be a top 2 defense against no matter who your competition is. So for the 49ers to struggle the way they did against the Raiders team, who literally was playing for nothing, I think this is what motivates them, because they're not playing for anything. They're just playing for paychecks at this point for next year.
Pride.
Kind of like Josh Jacobs. Exactly, pride. Josh Jacobs is playing literally for money next season, which I think he's probably gonna give it a go this week.
I don't know,
but
man.
I would totally I would doubt it. If I was him, I would just literally sit this game out and get paid next year. Just don't risk any injuries.
Yep.
This game is meaningless to the Raiders, which I think this is why it's going to be a close game, because it means nothing to them, and it means so much more to the Chiefs. So them kind of trying to sour a Chiefs victory is what their goal is going to be. We know that the Chiefs are going to try to get the 1 seed, and the Raiders know that if they win, they could potentially knock the Chiefs down to the 2 seed. So the Raiders not playing for nothing scares me a little bit. So that's why I think this game's going to be close. We've seen what the Chiefs do against bad competition. We go down to their level. We saw what happened against the Texans. We had to take them to overtime. We took them to overtime. And then obviously against Russell Wilson and a terrible Broncos team.
They have a great defense. Top 5
We're
defense.
talking about the offense compared to
I agree, but yeah.
It's just that game should not have been close. We're the team that the Broncos scored the most points at. Both.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
We literally made Russell Wilson look like Chef Russ out there.
End zone interceptions and fumbled punt returns. I mean,
But even
that'll do it.
The Broncos have a better roster than the Raiders do.
Yeah, but
They have a better roster.
Like I said, when you play for nothing, it's a lot more scarier. When a team's playing for a lot.
Well, instead of him is playing for a future job.
Exactly.
Mind you that too.
This is
his extension of his job.
Especially with Derek Carr leaving the Raiders.
And this is what I wanted to bring up. This is what I wanted to bring up about the whole Stidham aspect to this matchup. You would say that Derek Carr is probably what? Where would you rank Derek Carr amongst quarterbacks right now in the
Middle
NFL?
of the pack, top
15.
I'd say he's top 12.
Yeah,
Top 12, yeah.
Like in the Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins range,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Where would you rank Jarrett Stidham?
3? No.
After what I saw last,
I mean,
week,
I'm not going to
top
rank
10.
Stidham yet. I mean,
No, you can't rank him.
Okay,
You can't compare
that's
him.
my point, though, is that we don't know enough of Jarrett Stidham to comfortably assess what he is.
you can use that argument both ways, though.
No.
Yes.
What I'm saying is we know what Derek Carr is.
Yeah.
And in the matchups that he had, or the matchup he had this season with the Chiefs, he played very well.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was to come into this week, I'd say, I think the Raiders' offense is probably going to score some points because I know what Derek Carr did in Arrowhead this year. Jarrett Stidham having a good half against a team that had no film on him, I'm not going to give him that praise yet. He could come in. He could come in here and put up points. I'm not banking on that because the Chiefs give up points. Like, okay, look at the Russell Wilson situation last week, right? Or the just 2 matchups period. The Chiefs have they're giving up 40% of Russell Wilson's touchdowns this season in just 2 games. But to that point, the majority of those scores were the Chiefs having horrific turnovers and putting them in that position. So unless the Chiefs are going to do that again this week and basically walk them into the end zone, I don't foresee Jarrett Stidham going out there and replicating what he did in the first half against a team that didn't have film on him.
We've turned the ball over for like 10+ weeks straight.
9 out of the last 10, but you're right. I get what you're saying. The point I'm making, though, is the Raiders don't have a defense that forces turnovers. They're a bad defense.
Tell that to the Patriots, Lance.
Look at thank you. No, but touche on that. But the Broncos, the turnovers the Chiefs had against the Broncos were horrendous. Yeah. But at least it made sense because that's an elite defense. They're like, oh well, they're Patrick Surtain's fucking amazing, and Josie Jewell's a good linebacker, and some of that stuff you can add up. If Patrick Mahomes has 2-3 interceptions against the Raiders, that's unacceptable at a high level. So what I'm saying is, I know we're going to talk ourselves into a nail biter, and I get that because a lot of times down this stretch the Chiefs have been having those. But against teams like this, in moments like this where the Chiefs have to go out there and make it happen, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt over Jarrett Stidham, who's given me 2 quarters of good football.
Yeah, I know but at the same time, we did struggle against the dynamic duo of Davis Mills and what's-his-nuts. And the Texans. You know what I mean? So, and we had film on those bad.
True.
You know what I mean? So, I do see in these divisional games, no matter how confident we are going into these weeks, we like to keep them within 1 score. Always.
I'm not trying to make excuses.
No matter who the
here.
quarterback is.
I'm not trying to make excuses here.
Yeah.
But we all know that Carl Sheffers played a magnificent portion in that.
Yeah.
He literally was carrying the Texans down the field with horrific penalties.
Sure, but
that game should not have been close. Even with the the 2 turnovers.
There were some good calls. Yeah. We can't say there were terrible
Please
calls.
name them. Dude, Carl Sheffers was awful in that game. You know that he might not officiate a playoff game this year?
He's paid to be awful. But this is, I don't know, man. This is just a Raiders game. You know what I mean? We won by 1 point last time. I know there was bad things that did not. We had bad breaks in that one. We dug ourselves in a 17-point hole. But at the same time, this is a team that's playing, this is a quarterback who just had a really impressive performance against the Niners defense, regardless if the film is out there or not. They still have an elite receiver. They still have an elite tight end when healthy. They still have arguably the best running back in football this year. I think points in our defense has shown, outside of that Seahawks game recently, which was an incredible performance against a really good offense as well. Unless we have a performance similar to that and we get after Stidham, which I think we will get after Stidham. I think we will. Our secondary is still suspect if we're not getting pressures on the opposing quarterbacks. So I think this could be a long game. I think this will be a competitive game offensively.
We saw how him and Devontae Adams connected last week. Yeah. They were cooking.
That's something to build on. And like I said, this is a job. He's playing for a job. Yeah. He could be their guy for the future. Yeah. You know what I mean? And McDaniels did go out of his way to retain Stidham and go get him. You know what I mean? So sometimes there's just a connection between the coach. I think we're gloating way too much on Stidham right now. I know that. But this is the matchup at hand, and we got to talk about it. So I do think that performance was 100% overrated, just off mathematics, because typically you don't. That just doesn't. I don't think Stidham's going to be some kind of stud in this league. I don't. No. But the fact, I respect Devontae Adams. I respect Josh Jacobs and the other weapons and Waller and those guys. Listen, man, we our defense likes to keep games close, and I mean, as long as we play a clean game, we don't have way too many penalties against us, because these games between the Raiders and Chiefs tend to have a lot of penalties, and it's really, really frustrating. Both sides tend to have a lot of penalties. So if we clean that up and we do not turn the ball over, I think it's an ass whooping. But unfortunately, we don't. We have not done that this year. Outside of a couple games, we do not play clean games. We don't have low penalties consistently, and we yet to have a string along 3 games where we don't have a turnover. That's fucking frustrating as a Chiefs fan, because we know how good we are. We know how much better we are than the Raiders. But unfortunately, it's going to be a close game. I believe we're going to win, but it's just going to be one of those games where we're going to sit on the couch like, bro, we should be blowing these guys out like we do every week. But we're not, and we're going to keep this game close. So it's going to be within 7 most of the way. And Stidham's probably going to have a good stat line. You know, Patrick Mahomes is going to ball out at the end of the night. It's going to look like Patrick Mahomes. We should have blown them out, but somehow we're going to keep this game close. But I'm confident in Chiefs win, though.
Well, this is where I'll say, because we're going to get the key players in just a second. 2 reasons why I'm going to push back, because I know it feels like Trevor and I are always on opposite ends of this. I like how the game's going to go. Trevor will call a blowout. I think it's going to be close. I think the opposition scores a bunch of points. Trevor doesn't think that. Yeah. I'm going to be on the opposite end of this. One
of us is going to be right.
I think the Chiefs are facing a backup quarterback this week.
Yep.
And I think that we've seen more times than not this season when the Chiefs have played backup quarterbacks, they've beaten the shit out of them. I mean, let's be real. Malik Willis.
Yeah, I was going to say Malik Willis. He was terrible.
He was terrible in that game.
Yeah.
Was the Rams quarterback Bryce Perkins?
Yeah,
horrible in that game. Chiefs just. I mean, it was. I think the Chiefs are going to. I think the defense is going to play really well this week.
Brandon Stidham is much better, I think, than those guys, but
he looks that way. But he could very well have a horrific game in this one,
possibly.
Because the Chiefs actually have film on him. That's the whole defense. Like I said, you play the 49ers again, they're blowing that dude out. Here's the two factors. The Chiefs are 15-0 against the AFC West on road games.
Pat's never lost on the road to the Raiders.
In his career against the Raiders, the Chiefs are 8-1. He completes 65% of his passes, averages 315 yards per game, 28 total touchdowns, so only 3 interceptions, 8.3 yards per attempt with a 113 quarterback rating. Those numbers are not going to dip this week. This defense does not have, like I said, think about how many weapons Patrick's going to have in this game. He didn't have Kadarius Toney the first time he played. Like Trevor said, Pacheco wasn't a thing yet.
It wasn't.
Jerick McKinnon wasn't playing the way he was playing. They had to have Travis Kelce do literally everything in the end zone in that game. Now they're going to have 5-6 deep in this one.
Yep.
And the Chiefs still scored 30 in that game. So I don't see a scenario where the Raiders are going to be able to slow the Chiefs' offensive attack down, especially with the Chiefs coming in this game knowing how much is riding on this game. Unless there's horrific officiating, which there might be. That's the only way I see this game getting close. Because I just don't see Jared Stidham trading blows with Patrick Mahomes. I just don't see it.
Well, yeah.
With Brock Purdy on a short week where the team doesn't have film on you, sure.
Yeah.
Not against Patrick Mahomes.
Think about it as you're scaling two things out here. We're weighing out two different types of momentum. You got the Raiders with the momentum of just playing the party pooper for the Chiefs in the seeding situation, and their season's over after the fact. Or Patrick Mahomes solidifying the MVP and solidifying the 1 seed.
Right.
Which one's more motivating?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, so talk about the talent difference as well. But yeah.
So let's get to key players here. When it comes to the offensive side of things, I'm going to finally mention this guy, even though I give him a ton of credit on Twitter, but I just have not made him a matchup guy yet. I'm going to do it this week. Clutch McKinnon, man. I think Jerick McKinnon is going to have another game where he scores another touchdown. I don't know if it's going to be receiving. I don't know if it's going to be rushing. I would love it to be receiving because it would extend the record he just set.
Both.
He has 5 straight games with at least 1 receiving touchdown. That is an NFL record for a running back.
Stupid.
He has more receiving touchdowns this season than Tyreek Hill.
Stupid.
And he has 63 fewer receptions than Tyreek Hill.
And didn't even start becoming a thing until halfway through the year.
I'm telling you guys, I don't think it's a fluke. Jerick McKinnon did this the playoff run where he was an MVP candidate. Yeah, he went on a Damian Williams type of run.
Yep.
Shout out to Shaggy Shane because I know he loves hearing that mention. I think Jerick McKinnon has another game, guys, where he influences the outcome of this one. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he gets 6-7 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown. Would not be shocked because Patrick Mahomes loves dumping the ball off them, and he creates plays with his feet. They love getting Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and those guys out there in the front, blocking them and letting them get in the goal line. To add just a little sprinkle on the offensive side, wouldn't be surprised if they get McCole Hardman a touchdown as he comes back. Wouldn't be surprised if Kadarius Toney has another big game. I think, like I said, guys, I think the ball's going to be spread around, and I think they also want to go for that record because Patrick Mahomes is 1 behind the record now for most players with a receiving touchdown on their team. He has 12 right now. The record's 13. I don't know who he'd have to throw the ball to in order to get that record, but I would see if maybe they would try to get that incentivized. Maybe throw it to an offensive lineman on the plays where they have to let them know that they're free and throw it out to like an Orlando Brown Jr. or something like that. Blake Bell got one last week.
Yeah, his first game back.
Yeah, Noah Gray's got one. Justin Watson's got one. So they're going to have to really scrape the bottom of the barrel to throw a touchdown to somebody. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco's caught a touchdown this season.
No.
They may get a Pacheco touchdown, something like that, maybe. So that's what Rojo hasn't caught a touchdown. Rojo doesn't have a touchdown yet. So maybe we see some Rojo this week. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think they might
maybe
try
Andy
to
Reid gets on the field and catches.
Hey, and here's a crazier thing. Patrick Mahomes could be the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have over 5,000 yards in a season without a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yep.
That wild to think about. Like technically, Travis Kelce is a receiving option, but he's a tight end.
He's not a receiver, though. Yeah.
So he's not a receiver. So Patrick Mahomes would be the first quarterback ever. I think Juju needs like 145 yards, something like that, to get to 1,000. That'd be wild as hell. So there's some records to be there. I think this is a game though where Jerick McKinnon just keeps the trend going. I just don't see how he slows down. He's just too effective. He's doing it against great defense like the Broncos in multiple games. Why won't he do that against the Raiders? I just don't see it. My defensive player, guys. So I've been scrambling this one down. I've been giving the front seven a lot of credit, and they've been coming up big. I think that's the way you want to go about it. But I'm gonna give Nick Bolton a game. I think guys, you know that he is third in the league right now in solo tackles. He's second in the league in combined tackles, and he's the only player in the NFL that is in the top 25 in tackles, solo and combined, that's 22 or 23, under the age of 23. This man has an opportunity to finish this season number 2 in tackles this season.
He's already pacing Derek Johnson to be the number 1 tackling leader in Chiefs history.
And if Josh Jacobs plays in this game, you're going to need your middle linebacker to make some tackles. Yep. And I think Nick Bolton's going to have 12 to 15 tackles in this game.
Well, especially if Josh Jacobs plays. You're going to need him that much more.
I'll make a prediction. I think Nick Bolton forces a fumble in this game. I think he hits somebody and the ball comes out and Chiefs get an extra possession. I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction.
Hunter Renfro's good at that, so I mean that's a possibility.
It could be Darren Waller.
Saw that Arizona game.
It could be Darren Waller coming across the middle. It could be I don't know who it's going to be. I just think that Nick Bolton's going to make a big play in this game. I think he's going to have at least 12 tackles in this game, and I'm going to say he forces a fumble in this one and gets himself an All-Pro season because I think he's an All-Pro. Yeah. I think he's one of the 5 best linebackers in football, middle linebackers in the league right now. Yeah. He does not get enough credit for what he does. He's a tackling machine, a throwback. Yep. He plays like the 1990s linebackers. I love this guy. Yep. So those are my 2. Trevor, who are yours?
I mean, we touched on it already, man. A guy we were without, a guy that was not a part of this roster the first time he faced off here, and I think he's the 100% the X factor into this passing game, and that is Kadarius Toney. I think the matchup with that secondary is frightening. They have no one that can hold this guy. The way his shiftiness and what he's able to do on corners he's a guy that we saw it last week, that catch down the sideline, the get up and get it ball, his ability to stop and jump up and get the 50-50 balls. We've seen this guy adjust his gloves before the catch when the ball's midair and get up and get the ball. The guy has this sauce about him, man. The swagger he plays with. I think he's going to shred this secondary. I think this is a Kadarius Toney game. I know
100 yards.
Yes, I think this is his best game as a Chief.
Okay,
and I know he's already scored 2 touchdowns in this, but he hasn't had that big blow up game yet.
He had 71 last week.
Yeah, so he was pushing it. I think he takes that and adds on to this. I think this is a perfect. And think about it. What better way to get him ready for the postseason, and to get those juices going for him, to really get that confidence going for him in this offense, than to have him go off against the Raiders and put this season to bed on a very high note for the newest addition to this offense, who already has multiple touchdowns in this offense. He's produced on limited basis. He hasn't had a ton of targets yet. He hasn't had a double-digit target game yet. Like, I just think this is a game where we're gonna call upon him, and we know how effective he's already been in the red zone. Right, with in-round plays and jet sweeps with him already. The trust that Pat already has in him, I think is just going to grow. And I think this is the game that he just absolutely goes off and prepares his psyche and his momentum for the postseason. I think we're going to need him, and I think that starts here. I don't think McCole plays much at all. I know McCole has a chance, obviously, to score every single time he's on this roster and active on this roster heading into any matchup. The guy just knows how to find the end zone, and I think that Kadarius Toney is going to take over that mantle this week, especially. I think it could be a multiple touchdown, 100+ yard game for Kadarius Toney. I think he absolutely goes off. I think he's the worst possible matchup outside of Travis Kelce. Is the absolute worst matchup for the secondary. He always eats the Raiders alive. So it could definitely be a Travis Kelce game. It could be both of them. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to throw over 300 yards and have multiple scores, 3 to 4 touchdown passes. So they both can absolutely eat and go off in this game. But this just was like Kadarius Toney is just going to absolutely pick up where he left off in that last matchup last week. And just build upon that. So I'm confident in him to go off this week. Defensively, I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick with Furious George here. I think he's been absolutely gaining traction on the defense. You see it every week. The guy just continues to gain confidence in himself. You can tell he's been learning from his peers, learning from the veteran players like Frank Clark, who's been playing well this season as well. Learning from those guys. He's developing new moves and just more confidence. He's been batting a lot of balls down, getting to the quarterback more consistently, just gaining confidence in himself. And that's what you want to see, man. He's no longer a rookie at this point, as you know. Justin Reed has made it clear that nobody on the secondary, nobody on that defensive line, nobody on this roster that were drafted this past draft is a rookie anymore. These guys are now veterans. We're heading into that latter part of the year, going into the postseason where we need you the most. And I think he's going to rise to the occasion. I think he gets a sack here. I think he has a batted ball as well. he's done nothing but show me that I can have confidence in that moving forward. And I think our defensive line really, really gets after this bad offensive line of the Raiders that overperformed last week against a really good defensive line. And I think we see that and we're ready for that. We're not going to let that happen to us, or we're not going to let ourselves go into a hole based on the last matchup. I think we come out prepared, and I think our defensive line really gets after it. And I think George Karlaftis is going to be a big part of that. So I'm going with George there.
All right, from my offensive player of in this game, I'm going to go with Juju. I think this is a Juju game. I think Andy Reid knows it. I think Patrick Mahomes knows it. They want to get that 1,000 yards for Juju. They want to get him paid next year. I think that's what's going to happen. I think we all know that Andy Reid loves records, loves breaking records. So we're going to see a lot of passing from Patrick Mahomes. We're going to see Patrick Mahomes trying to break the record. I don't think he's going to, but we're going to see the Chiefs try and give Patrick Mahomes those records. I think they're going to have quite a few shots down the field, try and go with the deep ball early. I think he might end up with a pick or two, but I do expect Juju to catch quite a bit of passes and take one to the house.
He's had multiple double-digit target games and double-digit catching games. So
I love the Kadarius Toney pick. That was my pick, but I was like, I think Juju.
Either one of them can.
I think Juju, especially him chasing the 1,000 yards, him chasing the payday next season, especially going into the playoffs. You want to get your players as best mindset going into the playoffs. So him and Patrick Mahomes, the way they've been connecting in the last few weeks since he came back, they've been slowly coming back to what they were going in the direction they were going, and I think that they're reaching to that point where they were before his concussion. So I think Juju's going to have a really big game against the Raiders, maybe catching 1 or 2 touchdowns this game. Defensive player of the game, our key player, I'm going to go with Snead in this one. I think if you put him on Davante Adams, I think you can it's going to be a tough task for Snead, but I think if you put anybody on Davante Adams, I think it has to be Snead. I think he's the guy that could not lock him down, but could definitely interfere in Davante Adams making big plays, making spectacular catches. So I think Snead can have a really big game and not let Davante Adams just run away with yards and stuff like that. So
as long as it's not Joshua Williams on the island, I'm good.
Oh my God. Which Spagnuolo loves.
Right.
Against top receivers.
Please don't do that.
Well, this is the final game of the season, for the regular season, I should say. The party's just getting started. The playoffs are about to start. The Chiefs have been doing everything they can to make a point and make an emphatic point that losing Tyreek Hill was not going to change things. In fact, they're just going to get better from this point on. Many people have this as a rebuilding year. The Chiefs took it the opposite direction and are looking to be the 1 seed in the AFC again for the third time in the last 5 years. There have been 3 games this season where the Chiefs have scored over 40 points. All 3 of those games had McCole Hardman in it. Now, again, he probably will be a limited participant in this game, but he will be playing, which changes the entire dynamics of this offense. They lost Tyreek Hill and what he's able to do with his feet, with his hands and all those things, but that made McCole Hardman that much more of a valuable player and commodity this season since Tyreek was gone.
And he rose to the occasion.
He's rose to the occasion. I think the Chiefs are going to match their season high of points in this game. I think they're going to score 44 points in this game. I think they're going to come out and say, look, we started the season with a 44-point burger on the Cardinals. We came out and we let everybody know we're here. Tyreek's gone.
Let's sandwich it.
We're coming out. We went to the 49ers, put 41 on there, or 44 on their asses. Went to Tampa Bay, put 41 on their asses. We're ending this season against the Las Vegas Raiders with a backup quarterback, and we're going to put 44 points up on these motherfuckers.
Love it.
I'm going to predict that the Chiefs win this game 44-24. I think there's going to be some garbage time points for the Raiders because I'm not expecting Stidham to have a great game. And I think the Chiefs are going to go out there and make a statement. It pisses me off the way they do this. Trust me, guys. I was expecting games to be much better than what they were at the end, and they pull out victories that were unnecessarily stressful. But we've seen it now 3 times this season. When they wanted to go out there and make a statement, they went and did it. And I think they're going to, like Trevor said, this going to be like a bookend situation. Start the season this way, you end the season this way, and it's a total Andy Reid thing to do. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get that single-season yardage record. I think he's going to get potentially that 13th touchdown to a 13th player. And maybe Juju gets that. That'd be awesome to see. I would love to see him get that 1,000, but selfishly, it'd be kind of cool to see Patrick Mahomes be that quarterback that gets the 5,000-plus yards without a single 1,000-yard receiver. That's a cool little notch. But I'd love to see Juju get paid if, in fact, that is an incentive in his contract. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this game handily by 20 points, 44-24. Trevor, what's your score?
I actually have the Chiefs in the 40s as well. I have us scoring 40 points. I don't think the defense of the Raiders has any chance. They took advantage of a young, inexperienced quarterback last week who's a part of a very good offense. Struggled early, made some mistakes finally. He was pretty much spotless so far with Brock Purdy, who I'm talking about. So that was a fun game. The Raiders they kind of blew their load in that one. They still fell short. I am expecting points to be scored in this game. I have us winning by 10, but I have us winning 40-30. I just think the offensive weapons of the Raiders is just too good, and we tend to allow points to be scored for some reason. But I do think we go out there and I think Pacheco has a chance to run one in. I think McKinnon has a chance to score a receiving touchdown. I think Juju has a chance to receive a score. I think Travis Kelce can receive a score. Is very likely, probably the most likely player on our offense to score this week. And obviously my pick, Kadarius Toney, I think is going to go out there and absolutely destroy the secondary and shred them. I think he's going to go off. So I think Patrick Mahomes having 4 or 5 touchdown passes is not out the realm. I definitely think we win handily. I think we win by 10. I think we win 40-30, and I think Patrick Mahomes absolutely comes very close to that record, but he falls slightly short. But the total offense record is very much going to be taken care of.
I guess we're seeing a complete different game. I got the Chiefs beating the Raiders 28-24. I do think it's going to be a much closer game than expected. I see you guys having the Chiefs scoring 40. I just don't see it. Like I said, I think they're going to come out, make a couple mistakes. The Chiefs love chasing records. I think that's what Andy Reid does. And I think it's going to lead to some mistakes early in the game, trying to force the deep ball, trying to get Patrick Mahomes to break that record. It's going to cost the ball to turn the ball over. It's going to let the Raiders drive down the field, score a couple touchdowns. So it's gonna be a good close game. So I got the Chiefs winning 28-24.
All right, that is our prediction for this week, the final week of the NFL regular season. Let us know what you guys think about this matchup. Do you see it going a different way? Do you agree more with Eddie that it'll be a little more close nail biter type of game? Do you think Trevor and I are right that the Chiefs are gonna put up a lot of points in this one? You guys let us know, and we'd love to hear from you guys in the chat on YouTube. Let us know what you guys think. We have one more order of business to get to, guys, for the 200th time. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, deserve those L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, for the 200th time, who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
Not F1. I'm going to give it to the NFL. Why am I going to give it to the NFL? For what we literally talked about early in the show. There's just no explanation for it. The rules are there. The rules are there for a reason. The rules are there for this specific reason. We can't let emotions get the best of us, because that's when we make bad choices a lot of the times, because emotionally driven. And I think this is one of those instances where I think emotions got the best of the NFL, Roger Goodell, and every NFL fan team, and it cost the NFL to do something that not a lot of people are a big fan of. I didn't like it. I think that if the Bills didn't want to play the game, I think the Bills should have forfeited that game, taking that L for that. I respect the Bills not wanting to play. Obviously, if I was a player, I wouldn't want to play either. If that happened to my teammate. But at the end of the day, you have to maintain your fuck, I lost the word. but
Integrity.
Integrity. You have to maintain that integrity in the sport. It does suck, but like I said, Christian Eriksen, same thing happened where they had to revive him on the field.
Yep.
The game was played later on that day. It sucks. It really does suck. But at the end of the day, it's a business as well. You have to look at that aspect as well. It's a business. So I just think they made the wrong decisions. They should have just went by win percentages. Should have just stuck to like the true seedings, and give the 1 seed, 2 seed, 2 seed. If you're gonna give the Bengals the title, let them host that game in the playoffs. Don't fucking go to a coin toss. There's no need for that. And for the owners to approve that today,
it's insulting.
I just don't see how. I think they just needed like nine owners to vote against it or something like that. They would have to redo the thing. But for the owners to go in there and approve this it's dumb. It's stupid. I don't see it. If you're going to do a neutral site for the AFC Championship game, like Trevor said, I think you should do it for the NFC Championship game as well. It's only fair. Because this is only unfair to certain teams. So, yeah. I mean, there's not much. We talked about it earlier. They have to get an L for that. So, for that reason, NFL, you're going to have to do me a favor and
hold this L. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
Yeah, so the Damar Hamlin news has been obviously making its rounds everywhere. TV, damn near any morning show, any talking head show, anything that's news station, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's talking about it because it obviously took the world by storm, especially the U.S. with the NFL being, the king. My personal favorite show, The View, Joy Behar, and it's obviously that's a joke.
No, I was like, wait a second.
if anyone knows my sarcasm, yes, my favorite show is not The View.
It's too late for that shit.
Somehow
bro.
it's still a show. It's remained afloat somehow. It's remained afloat somehow due to comments and takes as such from the View's Joy Behar is obviously getting slammed on Twitter for her quote. Here, I'll read it to you. The dangers of contact sports are being widely discussed at the moment given the shocking incident involving the Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin on Monday night, and as such, Behar opted to weigh in. 45% of Americans think that, this is her, end quote, 45% of Americans think that tackle football is appropriate, end quote. She said during Wednesday's episode of The View, quote, heterosexual men voted the most support for kids doing football, and conservatives were most likely to support youth tackle football. Just saying, end quote. Behar also suggested that anyone wanting to engage in sports should stick to golf or tennis. I'm just going to kind of end it there. I think you guys can kind of make up your own takes on whatever it is, trying to politicize for one, trying to make it a conservative thing, and also make it a heterosexual male issue. When heterosexual males, I'm not going to dive too far into this, heterosexual males are the reason, I'm going to say it, are the reason females even have a chance to play professional sports. Because of that. Because of the lending of the NBA to the WNBA. There would be no WNBA without the NBA. It is what it is. It's the facts of reality. It's created endless amounts of jobs. It's created so much more for the economy in this country. The NFL doing what it is and becoming the entity that it is and the money tree that it is for the entire nation is what it is because of these heterosexual males that you're trying to dismantle and belittle because of a absolutely anomaly injury that happened in a contact sport. Never once have we seen anything like this in any sport outside of that issue but that issue in the soccer game was sustained by himself. It wasn't like he took a massive hit to the chest. This is Hamlin got hit in the chest at just the right time in the middle between his heart rhythms to stop his heart. It's just an absolute anomalous freak accident that happened. I just have a massive problem with, obviously I don't have to dive into what she said was absolutely ridiculous and asinine to sexual male issue. And the fact that The View is actually diving into the NFL takes and trying to make it into something that it's not is just hilarious to me. So I just want to thank The View and other shows that have tried to create a new narrative to this, absolutely, for what this family is actually going through, the reality of the situation, the life and death situation that is. We're going to try to make it a political issue and try to make it a toxic masculinity issue. Is just, I love it. This one just struck my nerve because I love I see the comedy in these kind of things.
Yeah.
So for me, it was absolutely L-worthy. So for that, Joy Behar and The View, do me a solid and
hold this L. I guess I'd like to know who we blame.
Stick to your views.
I would like to know who we blame for the Keeping Up with the Kardashians ever being a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? It's just
weird.
Politicizing.
Who we blame for that?
The choice to publicly politicize this
OJ
issue
for the Kardashians.
is just
Fuck
hilarious
that.
to me, bro. So yeah, couldn't help myself.
I know you guys are aware of the term "read the room" or understand the temperature of the room, and I'm glad you brought up the Damar Hamlin situation. Because the moment that took place, as I said at the top of the show, the first thing I'm thinking and the first thing I'm feeling is, oh my God, like, please be okay. Because we talk about this all the time. I don't care what team you play for. I don't care what sport you play. If I see an injured athlete, my heart hurts, man, because that's a human being at the end of the day. Fuck whatever's going on in that field. That is a person. They have family. They have to walk off that field or get carted off that field or driven off that field and deal with life. And sure, we focus on football. We focus on other sports. They got to focus on getting better or staying alive. Which is why when Skip Bayless opened his mouth this week, being the person that he is, it shouldn't really shock any of us because this is just what he's known to be, is somebody that doesn't know how to read the room, doesn't know how to gauge the temperature of a room, and instead is fixated on getting himself attention. So me even doing this is doing what he wanted all along, but I can't help but present this, especially on our 200th episode, because Skip Bayless stands for everything that we stand against, or we are on complete opposite ends here, because although we get energetic and we get flamboyant in our takes and stuff like that, like I can honestly say, from my point of view, knowing Trevor and Eddie as well as I do, we don't give takes on this show to get reaction. It just happens sometimes. On my Twitter, I tweet a lot. I got a lot of followers on Twitter. I have never once tweeted stuff just to garner attention. It is what I believe. It is what I feel. And unfortunately, 71-year-old pale raisin Skip Bayless doesn't understand the situation for what it is. That a man was on the field that literally died and was dying on the way to the hospital, died again at the hospital. Instead of talking about that and just leaving it at that and worried about that and not talking about the game, because at that point the game did not matter for the rest of that night, Skip Bayless instead tweets out, quote, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, ... which suddenly seems so irrelevant." End quote. And I love that he put that at the end, which seems so irrelevant, but yet he just spent that tweet talking about, well, how's the NFL going to do this? If it's irrelevant, leave it in irrelevance. We don't need to talk about that right now. That's not important. What's important is making sure this man survives. So we don't need to talk about what the NFL is going to do about this game. That doesn't matter. And it got so bad the next day on Undisputed, and I admit I do watch it from time to time because I'm a big fan of Shannon Sharp. I really love the fact that he goes up there as a former player. He's one of the few former players that I think is just as good or right at the same level of being good on TV as he was in his NFL career.
He's an entertainer, man.
Ryan Clark's pretty good. There's other guys that I think from time to time are pretty good at what they do as well, but Shannon's one of the best.
Terry Bradshaw,
he's hilarious, old like your old uncle. But Howie Long, guys like that, Michael Strahan are incredible. All those guys are awesome. My point is, it was as soon as I saw Undisputed show up and it was just Skip Bayless with Jen Hale introducing him, and they said that Shannon's out today and I can't wait to have my brother back tomorrow, I immediately tweeted, Shannon Sharp not being here today tells me everything we needed to know. And people were telling me, oh no, he had his grandson, he's gone for this reason or that reason. Guys, I don't remember the last time Shannon Sharp just missed a show on Undisputed. And you can't tell me it was a coincidence. And what do you know? Wednesday, 2 days after, or the day after he had missed, this happened, the very opening act of Undisputed.
Good morning, yes. Morning. There's been a lot of speculation of why I wasn't on air yesterday, and I won't get into speculation or conjecture or innuendo, but I will say this. In watching that game on Monday night, what happened to Damar Hamlin struck me a little different. As a brotherhood in the NFL, when injuries happen, when we know injuries are a part of the game, I've seen guys suffer ACLs and Achilles tear, but I've never seen anybody have to be revived and fight for their life on the field. So they struck me a little differently because I remember seeing my brother paralyzed on the field temporarily, and he was able to regain focus. Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down, but I didn't want it.
Well, time out. I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted.
Skip, let me finish.
All right, okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead, let's go, Jen.
Okay.
I mean, I cannot even get through a monologue without you interrupting me.
Well,
you could have came back, Skip.
Well, I thought,
Skip, just let.
I didn't know you were going to bring up.
No, I was just going to say, Skip. I didn't want to yesterday to get into a situation where Damar Hamlin was the issue. We should have been talking about him and not get into your tweet. That's what I was going to do. But you can't even let me finish my opening monologue without you interrupting.
Okay. I was under the impression you weren't going to bring this up because nobody here had a problem with that tweet.
No. Clearly, the bosses wanted you to offer explanation, so clearly somebody...
No, they did not have... Nobody...
Let's go, Jen.
Thoughts and prayers remain with Damar Hamlin.
That's where the focus should have been, and not on the football game. Yes, let's go, Jen. Thank you.
Damn. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing to the 10th degree because of the fact, I mean, where do we even begin on this? I mean, Shannon Sharpe, former NFL player who saw his brother, as he alluded to in that brief portion before he got interrupted by Dipshit, was talking about how his brother was paralyzed on the field and how this hit him home and it disturbed him greatly. And I'm trying to put myself in that position, like being on a TV show daily with a guy that's already a pain in the ass that nobody wants to work with, but you make really good money having to deal with this shit that it's almost worth it. Seeing that tweet after what just happened on that field, knowing what you've experienced in your personal career and your brother's career, I don't know how Shannon does it. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he puts up with it. And this was not. I know people are like, "Oh, it's staged." I don't believe it was. I think this was real. I think Shannon was legitimate pissed. I think he took that day off because he didn't want to be with Skip and wanted Skip to be on that plank by himself to have to answer for all that shit and embarrassingly have to read those tweets all day, which was half-hearted. It's like Skip struggles to be a human. It's weird. The deep sighs and the fake remorse. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Shit's annoying. So it's so annoying.
It's just it's like he looks like an alien in a human body, like trying to act normal. It's everything he does is awkward, and the funniest part about it is this got so bad, the greatest show in sports, NBA on TNT, had themselves some fun on this last night.
Everything good. Things starting out 2023 just as they ended 2022. Hey. I'm sick of you, man. What? I'm sick of you. What happened? You interrupted Ernie already. The first show of the year, you already interrupted him. Can he finish his monologue? Stop. Okay, stop. Hey, here's on YouTube too. So I didn't see the show. I saw it. Here's the New Year out there. But yeah, Chuck at it already. Easy. I bet the right. We better be cut off your right, bro. Mama, I'm coming home. I'm not taking my tweet now. Hey, no, I'm not
the best, bro.
Where's that tape? Talk about. You want to talk about the Joker? Hey. Go ahead. No. It's the no, because every time I want to talk, you want to interrupt me. Will you allow him to talk about the Jokers? You know how much your mom means to me, right? And I just want to say, man, between the Papa John and the General, man, putting her in commercials is really awesome. Good. She loves you too. Yeah, she's awesome. She loves you. I don't. Be nice if you put me in. Okay. And Ernie, trust me. I know. I just like Shannon. I know what it's like to work with somebody you hate.
That's so good, bro.
See, we laugh about that, but in all seriousness, and I want to keep it to that. I'm bringing that part of it up because obviously that's hilarious, and those guys are the best at what they do. Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie.
The best.
But that's think about how embarrassing that is. I understand that FS1 is making a ton off the ratings of what just took place between Skip and Shannon.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some, like we talk about the NFL having its integrity. As a network, you have to have some integrity too. And let's not pretend like this isn't the first time Skip's done something just horrific. I mean, go back to when he was trying to accuse Troy Aikman of being a homosexual for no reason.
Just tone deaf.
Talking about Dak Prescott now being a true leader because of the fact that he was talking about how he's depressed when his brother killed himself.
Yeah.
Talking about Mike McCarthy's weight and how he wouldn't want him to be a head coach because he's fat. And then just a few weeks ago, talking about Shannon Sharp and how you'll never be Tom Brady and disrespecting the Hall of Famer sitting across from him to the point where Shannon took his glass off, which means that dude was about to light him up like a Christmas tree. Like, all these things, FS1 just keeps letting this dipshit go out there and embarrass their network each and every day. I don't understand why. What is it going to take for this man to finally get what he deserves?
It's an embarrassment of ratings.
And I'm not somebody that like seeing people get fired and stuff, but I mean, eventually you got to cut ties with this clown, man, because he's causing problems to the point where Jenny Taft had to leave that show, and then she coincidentally the next day put a video of her and Shannon Sharp and says, "I miss my friend Shannon Sharp." Carrie Champion's talked about it. Joy Taylor's talked about it. Like, one after another of these former people. Stephen A. Smith had to talk about it. How many more people got to go through this shit? It's to the point where other networks, Turner Sports, is laughing at you, making fun of you for entire segments. It's abysmal. So this, you know what? This L isn't even for Skip Bayless. This L is for FS1 for allowing this shit to go down. FS1, be better, man, for Christ's sake, man. You guys can do so much better than this shit. Support Shannon Sharp for what he's doing, which is helping you guys carry some integrity into these shows. Do me a solid, FS1, and hold this L.
Episode 200, baby.
Yeah, man.
200.
It's late as hell. And it's I want to be in bed right now, but you know what, dude? In all seriousness, I love doing this more than anything else. I really do. Like, getting to talk sports with my brother, one of my best friends here, Eddie. 200, I mean, it feels like it, but it doesn't at the same time. It feels like it has flown by, but I can, like, reminisce on a lot of different stages and phases of what we've been through as a show. I'm proud of this. I really am. And I know you guys are too. I know Clay is, and I know the viewing audience. I've heard a lot of people say congratulations and stuff. I appreciate that, but we love this, man. And yeah, I mean, I knew we would get here. I wasn't afraid of that or worried about that, but it's just something to definitely, relish on. And we appreciate all you guys. It means a lot that we have the support we do on our social media platforms and on here. So thank you guys so much. It's been a rough year, especially at the tail end. But being able to do this to start 2023, that's the way I like to start this year. That's the way I'd like to start a new year, is being able to do episode 200 on the show that I very much take pride in hosting and being a part of this with my guys here, and being a part of this with you guys every single week. So with that, here's to the next 200. That's the way I see it, dude. We got a good thing going here, and I can't wait to see what's next. But in the meantime, for the great Trevor Twidwell, for the awesome Eddie Ortiz, and for the GOAT Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end, I'm Lance Twidwell. Episode 200 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're here talking about the Chiefs getting a first-round bye in episode 201 in 1 week's time, we out of this bitch.